was captured during the July 2021 riots. Billions of rands in losses were caused by people who burnt and looted shops in KwaZulu-Natal and parts of Gauteng. Khanyile, who was supported by former President Jacob Zuma in court, is facing charges of inciting violence and being in contravention of the Disaster Management Act. It is alleged Khanyile encouraged some people to go on the rampage until Zuma was released from prison for being in contempt of court. And NPA Regional Spokesperson Natasha Remkinson-Kara.
With regards to the cases, some of the cases obviously went to the lower courts. The charges there were like possession of suspected stolen items, malicious injury to property, etc. And we've had convictions in those cases, but they're at the regional courts, which is the lower courts. In terms of the high courts, the matters that we have are at pre-trial stage. However, in terms of the instigators, we've had a successful finalization, which was the case of Ndumiseni Zuma, who was sentenced to...
The NPA says 274 cases which were registered were successfully prosecuted. Members of the Kurdish group, which has waged a decades-long insurgency in Turkey, have burned their weapons in the first ceremony marking their disbanding. The symbolic event in Iraqi Kurdistan was the start of a months-long process which will see the PKK gradually disarm. The group has been blamed for many attacks across Turkey over the past 40 years, but its jailed leader Abdullah Öcalan says it will now use peaceful and democratic means to further the rights of the Kurdish minority.
What has been done is a voluntary transition from the phase of armed struggle to the phase of democratic politics and law. This is not a loss, but has to be regarded as an historical gain.
A Turkish Parliament commission has been set up to integrate PKK members into society.
Recapping the top story, the South African Weather Service has issued a weather warning for disruptive rainfall that could lead to localized flooding in areas along the coast of KwaZulu-Natal. I am Mondela Mbana for SAFM News Headlines at 3:30.
In sports this hour, momentum key as Banyana chase another victory. Lebak relishes return to fly-half role, and Alcaraz breaks Fritz in the first game of Wimbledon semi-final. More details at 3:30.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
So, Taryn, you've just graduated cum laude, but nothing says you're a genius quite like selling your car to WeBuy Cars.
Absolutely. My car was an 18th birthday present, and it's time to move on to something a bit more mature.
So where did you hear about WeBuy Cars?
All of my friends are using WeBuy Cars. I would have had legit FOMO if I hadn't used them. And it was so quick. I did it on my laptop while sending around my CV.
Smart move, Taryn. Graduated and upgraded. WeBuy Cars. Geared for success. Geared for you.
30 years ago, a moment united a nation. From Ellis Park to every township and village, we stood together. One people, one dream, one victory. Now, the vibration rises again. From the heart of Mzansi to every corner of the country. The four-time world champions, the mighty Springboks, take on the Azuri in a clash where history meets destiny. This is more than a match. It's a country moment, only on SABC. Celebrate the 30th anniversary of our 1995 Rugby World Cup victory. Watch South Africa versus Italy, Saturday 12 July at 4 p.m. Live on SABC2 and streaming on SABC Plus. Also available on SABC radio stations at 5 p.m. Download the SABC Plus app now. Switch, stream, no subscription. SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
You are listening to SAFM Radio this Mandela Month.
It is in your hands now.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
I can't help but listen to that promo for Mandela Month and the former president saying it is in your hands, and wondering that it actually is in Ramaphosa's hands in terms of what happens next, isn't it? We'll talk about that because we know he has this appointment with us, the nation, on Sunday evening. What decisions is he going to make, particularly specifically around the Minister of Police, Senzo Mchunu? And whichever way he does it or doesn't do it, I think there's bound to be a reaction of sorts. So, Mr. President, it is in your hands. Welcome to the show, the National Pulse. Let me feel your pulse. What does he tell you about the biggest issues in the country? My name's Ashraf Garda. 3 to 6 is what we'll do. Great guest coming up after 5 o'clock in the Friday Fireside Chat. I'll tell you about that just now. And to call in, as always, if you haven't quite saved the number, it's about time you do. 086 000 2032 to call in live. And then to WhatsApp, it's 0614 104 107. Text or voice notes. You know the drill, 30 seconds per voice note, please, maximum. And then hashtag the National Pulse if you are tweeting, and then tag SFM Radio and certainly tag me as well, Ashraf Garda. Right, first things first. It's in your hands is what we can pick up now, because we know the president will be talking to us on Sunday evening at 7 p.m. And this, of course, is sparked by what happened last week, Sunday, and the allegations made by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. It really hasn't stopped since then, isn't it? So he's back from his trip to Brazil with the BRICS summit, and he's got some decisions to make. What type of decisions will he make? Let's try and understand really what is he up against, meaning in the balancing act or the managing as the leader of the country. What does he have to consider? Mzwandile Mbeje, the SABC News political editor, is with me. Good to connect with you as always on the National Pulse. Mzwandile, hello.
A very good afternoon to Ashraf and the listeners. Good to have you again.
Absolutely. I would think someone like yourself, you're very much in overdrive, just looking at the possibilities and the options he has or doesn't have, and the implications, whichever way he's likely to go, and whatever he's likely to say on Sunday evening, isn't it?
Oh, yes. You know, being president is not something that's very easy, actually, because there are things that I think we as public would want to see done just now. But of course, as president, he needs to follow certain processes, and also not just follow processes, but also be alive to all the facts that will be presented to him. One of the things that he's been doing in the past few days since his return from Brazil was to meet the stakeholders, particularly the players in this whole situation. And then, given that he has met them and that he is ready to speak to the nation, clearly some sort of a decision has been taken, or he has taken, or is about to take. Let me put it that way. I think what the president will probably do, Ashraf, is that, I mean, these allegations are quite serious. I mean, you can't simply wish them away. You want to get to the bottom of exactly what is it that Lieutenant Mkhwanazi was speaking about. So it's likely perhaps that he may set up some sort of an investigating team, or maybe let's put it this way, probably some sort of a judicial commission of inquiry, given that it doesn't only touch one aspect of the state. It goes to the executive, it goes to the legislature, it goes to the judiciary. So clearly, I do see him perhaps gravitating more towards a judicial commission of inquiry, and perhaps in the process he may ask those involved perhaps to take a step back, not necessarily dismiss because the facts are not out yet. You may then ask them to take a step back, or themselves, given the nature of what has been happening, they may just want to say, perhaps let's give this a chance. I mean, you heard the judiciary yesterday basically saying to Lieutenant Mkhwanazi and General Masemola, please bring credible evidence so that we are able to look into this. because it tarnishes the whole judiciary.
Yeah, I mean, let's just pick up on that, just in terms of the allegations. You know, from Mkhwanazi, there's different allegations with regard to different people. You know, from the Minister of Police to the possibilities of, mass corruption by a syndicate. But then I think the one about the judiciary is particularly disturbing, and therefore the response from the judiciary. So it does suggest that, the president has got to manage and balance all those different interests. And it's an interesting one. I mean, he's not a judge, but does he have to act like a judge, as in what he believes is right and wrong, or does he have to act like a conductor to try and just ensure that there's a degree of synchronicity across the nation?
And I think that's why, Ashraf, I really suspect he may opt for a judicial commission of inquiry so that you get to the bottom of this. It's quite serious. I mean, if the judiciary is tarnished in this way, who will believe them going forward? So I suspect so that South Africans have some sort of confidence, will then perhaps go that route. So whether that announcement he is going to make on Sunday suffices in terms of what South Africans expect is another issue altogether. But the fact of the matter is that as the president of the country, he needs to get the processes that will get to the bottom of this. And I think this could be the tip of the iceberg. Perhaps what has been said may lead to things even bigger than we suspect.
Ominously so. You said what South Africa can expect. What do you think? I mean, what are, based upon, what you've seen, ears on the ground, maybe listening to talk shows like this one here, what do you think? What are the expectations of South Africans?
South Africans, all they want to see, perhaps they want to see those implicated dealt with. But of course, South Africans are not necessarily vigilantes. They would want to see a fair process. But I think what is uppermost in their minds is that this process must be swift. Because when it's swift, they'll be able then to believe it. Sometimes processes like this drag on, and then the interest is gone, and then you end up not knowing what was happening. So clearly, then you are not able to restore the trust. I think South Africans will expect a process. If, let's say, the president announces the process, that will be swift, get to the bottom of this, and finalize it immediately.
All right. Interesting you said that'll be swift, because if there's one thing that South Africans are very put off by, is any suggestion that we should have a commission of inquiry. They don't believe, they're not invested in commissions of inquiry any longer.
I think it's because of the nature of the commissions of inquiry. So sometimes when they happen, they tend to take long. And I mean, if you look at, in fact, I was just doing a bit of reflecting, looking at how this week panned out. Since the day Mkhwanazi spoke about those allegations, every day that is the news story that has been dominating just about everything. It doesn't matter what else comes in, that has been the story that has been dominant. So that tells you that there's huge interest in this. So if a commission of inquiry were to be set up, it must at least deal with it swiftly. Because if then it gets set up and then it drags on, and then the interest is gone, somehow the public start to lose some sort of hope. Because, I mean, I'm sure even those implicated, they probably would want to clear their names, those who feel their names need to be cleared. So the swiftness of the process will actually help. But sometimes, even if you want a swift process, the matters involved, particularly matters of state, are such that it may not be possible.
But you see, the flip side of that is that any commission of inquiry, and when we say swiftness, is relative. Is a month swift? Is a year swift? Is 2 years swift? But if it appears that there's going to be any delay, then I would think the public perception will be like, oh, you see, the president is going to sweep this under the carpet, or maybe under the mattress, if you get my point, right? There's just a lack of confidence in that. How do you think the public will then take any announcement of a commission of inquiry or a delayed investigation into this?
I think South Africans are reasonable enough to expect something like 6 months to conclude this process. Because 6 months, it will still be somehow this year, or maybe just a little bit into January. But it would be something that will have happened this year and perhaps be concluded this year. So, but of course, as you and I know, if it goes that route, you have to subpoena people, you have to write letters to certain individuals, then the process tends to drag. I mean, if you look at the Zondo Commission, I mean, initially it was supposed to be a very short inquiry, but it ended up taking about 4 years. I mean, initially it was supposed to be 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, and then it ended up taking 4 years. So that is the kind of stuff South Africans would not want to hear.
And therefore, ironically, I tweeted today to say, commissions of inquiry need to, or rather a commission of inquiry needs to have its own commissions of inquiry, and perhaps we need to look at the overall effectiveness of commissions of inquiry anyway, right? But whatever may happen, right, let's talk about this, right? The president still has to make some important decisions. So whether he goes for a commission of inquiry or something else, what about the people who are currently in office? I mean, does it be a case of proven, innocent until proven guilty, or asking them to literally step aside, suspend them, axe them? And I'm starting with the Minister of Police as a starting point. What can he do? What do we think he's likely to do?
Yeah, I think with regards to the Minister of Police, I think I see two things in this instance. I see perhaps the president asking him to step aside or to step back, or the minister himself saying to the president, so that I clear my name, perhaps give me a bit of time so that I'm able to focus on this. I don't think a dismissal is an option at this stage, because especially if you have seen that the minister has basically said, rejected the allegation. So I think the president will be a bit more cautious in how he handles this. So possibly a situation where leave of absence will be requested. And then when it relates to someone like Mukhwanazi, for example, he can also be asked the same thing, to say, whilst this is happening, so that there's no interference with the process, perhaps take leave, a special leave. But I'm not sure how that will apply, because I know that his contract is coming to an end, I think end of the month, of next month. So I don't know how they'll navigate around those issues.
Okay.
So that the process is seen by South Africans as fair and open, and no one interfered with its outcome. So that's my reading of the situation.
Okay. In fact, I want to pick up on what is your understanding of the personality type of the president, which we'll do right after this.
CFI, a global leader in online trading, is now in South Africa. Access 15,000 plus instruments, currencies, stocks, metals, crypto CFDs, indices, futures, and more on world-class platforms. Enjoy zero pip spreads, no commission fees, and 24/7 support for confident trading. Visit CFI.trade for a secure, transparent trading experience. Don't miss the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda, Tuesdays at 16:45. Proudly sponsored by CFI. CFI Financial, an authorized financial services provider. T's and C's apply.
Join us for this year's fundraiser, Jazz for Young People concert at the National School of the Arts on the 26th of July. This unique event, perfect for families, is a powerful celebration of youth, creativity, and community spirit. So bring the whole family to enjoy a wonderful day of world-class jazz curated by Zoe Mudicha, featuring the Parktown Girls Band, Tshwane School of Music, The Real DJ Zandi, Kutlotaro Jazz Band, and many others. Tickets are just 80 Rand and 50 Rand for kids under 12 via Quicket. Jazz for Young People is proudly brought to you by Standard Bank Joy of Jazz.
Right, we've been talking about it all week. Let me remind you, Chasing the Sun. It happens this week, this Sunday night, right? 7:30 p.m. on SABC2. That is the documentary which effectively reflects that magical victory for the Springboks in really after being defeated by the All Blacks a year before and thrashed, I think, coming back and actually winning that World Cup led by Siya Kolisi, that World Cup glory of 2019. So it's a 5-part series starting this Sunday and then going on for the next 5 weeks, reflecting that event that made rugby history. And by the way, you can also stream each chapter on SABC Plus. So anytime, anywhere, no subscription needed. Don't forget, Chasing the Sun, Sunday, 7:30 p.m. on SABC2, be there when history shines.
X at SFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Well, let's conclude the conversation with Mzwandile Mbeje, and after that we'll take your call so you can start dialing right away in terms of what are your expectations for the president, what he's going to say, but what will happen if he doesn't meet up to your expectations? What would that tell you then about him and when we as a country, where we as a country are headed, right? So, Mzwandile, I want to just pick up, there's a fascinating piece put together by Judith February in the Daily Maverick, and she made the point that Ramaphosa only finds his voice when faced with easy targets. When it comes to really difficult targets, he tends to cop out. So therefore, my question to you about what is your understanding of his personality type in terms of what's he likely to do generally, and then understand it in terms of what he could do this time around?
Yeah, I think in terms of how he prefers to execute his responsibilities, especially responsibility that is heavy as this one, he would want to stick to the process. And he would want the process to be the one that then determines what course of action he needs to take. Because he is someone who doesn't want to play to the gallery. He is someone who believes that no matter how long it takes, you need to be fair, you need to hear all sides, and that is how he does his work. So in this situation, particularly grave as it is, it relates to some extent as well, or in fact to a very bigger extent, to the state, to the security of the state. So you can't just rush into decision. So you've got to be thoughtful, you've got to be process-led, you've got to engage with all parties, and you've also got to be sensitive, because a rash decision that could potentially unravel even more. There are things that, as a state, Ashraf, that we are not supposed to know about, because they are meant to protect all of us. If you then lay all of this bare to all and sundry, you are compromising the security of the state. So those are things that will weigh heavily on his mind as he looks into this. That is why I'm inclined to believing that in this instance, a judicial commission of inquiry will be able to look into this. In fact, even during that process, there may be sessions where we will be told that this will not be open to the public, if a decision that the judicial of inquiry be open to the public, because some of the matters deal with the state, and no state wants to expose itself to others.
Okay, so just to conclude, then, if we're saying the judicial commission of inquiry would be the high road, what then for you would be the low road?
That would be a task team with no powers to subpoena.
Okay, got it.
That really wouldn't.
And hopefully the
do
president
much.
gets that message as well. Let's leave it at that. You've got lots of work to do over the weekend. Mzwandile Mbeje, SABC News political editor. Much appreciate your time as always here on the National Pulse. Well, it is the National Pulse. The pulses are racing. They've been racing all week since Sunday lunchtime or thereabouts anyway. So give me your thoughts about, for you, what would be the high road of any president's announcement, and what would be for you a low road? That means, what would he say that'll be just magic? What would he say that will be like, oh my goodness, man, that's a disaster for South Africa? I'd like to hear it, and you can call in right away, 086 000 2032. There are many WhatsApps already being sent to us, and I'll take them. In fact, let me get to that right away, right? So here's one on, well, it's called a family meeting, right?
Truth be told, I'm not expecting any earth-shattering announcement on Sunday. Whatever is going to be announcing, it's stuff that a press release or press statement can actually do. If anything, he will probably be punting his national dialogue story. But I'm not expecting any earth-moving announcement on Sunday. Thanks, Ashraf, Thabo, Midrand.
But I mean, Thabo, he can't really block book our time on a Sunday evening and talk about the what was said about before the national dialogue. He's got to come up with something different. Otherwise, why the reason for that meeting?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. This is Bagi in Cape Town. I want to totally agree with what Mzwa says, that the president would like to be presented with facts, and get the angle that is now from which to address this fact, this matter we are faced with, or that he is actually faced with. And I want to believe that soon we shall see it coming. I agree with Mzwa. This is Bike in Cape Town.
Okay, thanks. Soon we shall see it coming. Let's see. Ticking time bomb. Maybe bomb is the wrong word. Faisal in the Eastern Cape, go for it. You want to talk about Mkhwanazi? Yeah.
Yes, Ashraf, what Mzwandile Mbete said,
yeah,
that is a very good thing what he says, because everybody, you can't just take quick hasty decision, then tomorrow you regret. And that's what Mkhwanazi said. What does the other party says? You see, Ashraf, in the read a year or 2 years, it was a long story in the Mail and Guardian that there is a war of General Khumalo and this other general, the deputy general. So there's a big issue. So we don't know until we hear what they are saying. So
yeah.
I
Point made. Okay, got that, Faisal. Thanks for that. We don't know,
okay.
And saying maybe he's supportive of being a bit more reflective. Some say too reflective. In fact, I heard someone say they call Ramaphosa because he's always on pause. That may be unfair because the nature of a leader would be you have to reflect, right? You really have to. Pasani, let's get your thoughts. Go for it. Hello. Pasani, okay, go on. Let's get another one also on Ramaphosa.
Good afternoon, Mr. A. Yeah, the president's voice is rather strange. Maybe it's the weather. He's been affected in Brazil, or maybe it's the stress of what he's going to say on Sunday. His voice does not sound so nice, or confident like the way he usually talks. Kind of strange voice for me. Maybe he's worried. We'll see anyway on Sunday. But I'm not expecting any dramatic thing, especially from Ramaphosa. He's too sweet. Pastor Cape Town.
He's too sweet. He's too this. I don't know. Goodness, I don't want to be the president. I promise you. I don't want to. Not that you're going to vote for me, but just think about it. We'll, in fact, pick out a voice clip from the conversation that he had today regarding the national dialogue. And yes, many people are suggesting, maybe someone unfairly, that he seems to be like in the exit room, like the departure lounge, in terms of his attitude. Really? Do you genuinely think so when the stakes are that high? 3:30. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, the struggling South African Post Office has received a 1.8 billion rand bailout to stabilize its operations. The South African Weather Service has issued a weather warning for disruptive rainfall that could lead to localized flooding in areas along the coast of KwaZulu-Natal. And Gaza's main hospital that's still functioning, the Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, has stopped admitting casualties after being encircled by Israeli forces. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 northbound slow moving towards Woodmead Drive, the N12 eastbound in Boksburg, a crash before the R21 highway, and the N3 northbound in Edenvale has a crash at Modderfontein Road. In KZN, the N3 eastbound a crash at Cliffdale. On the N3 eastbound, there's queuing traffic reported at Keybridge, and the N2 southbound queuing on the ramp to the N3 west at Spaghetti Junction. And in Cape Town, Victoria Road outbound slow moving through Woodstock. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tumi Nkgapele.
Right, let's get to the Minister of Sport. To me, what's in that sports bag?
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Banyana are back in action today in the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. They're facing Tanzania in their second group stage clash. Now, the defending champions will look to maintain their winning momentum coming into this clash as they are fresh off a 2-0 win over Ghana. And here's Banyana coach Desiree Ellis.
We need to make sure that, again, we don't concede, because we are going to create opportunities and then take those opportunities, and we need to be a lot more in the attacking third when we are there to take the chances, because we had a couple of chances against Ghana that could have sealed the game, and then they hit the crossbar after that, so we could have been way out of distance. So we got to make sure that we do that, because yes, defenses win you matches, but goals also win you matches. So we got to make sure of that. But we do know that probably the captain, Opa, and Lubenga will come into the matchday squad, and they will bring a different dimension to their team. Up as a top-class striker, and we've seen what Clara can do, so we have to be aware of that as well. We are aware of everything that they have to offer, but we just have to execute our plan and make sure that our plan comes to the fore, because that is the most important thing. Yes, we analyze like they're going to analyze us, but we also concentrate a lot more on what we need to do to make sure that we get those things right.
Meanwhile, Golden Arrows assistant coach Kagiso Dikhatri believes that the 2025 KZN Premiers Cup will provide a valuable opportunity to assess their squad's readiness. This is ahead of the new Betway Premiership season. Bafana Bastande will face AmaZulu in the semi-finals in a tournament that features Richards Bay, Durban City, Milford FC and Medlars Wanderers.
No, it's exciting, and I hope we progress through into the semi-final, even up to the final. So it's going to be a good preparation for us, and to test ourselves against someone who we compete on the same level with. It's going to be a good test, and then it will give us a clear indication as to how far we are in terms of the readiness for the new season.
Elsewhere, Arsene Wenger has dismissed Jurgen Klopp's criticism of FIFA's revamped 32-team Club World Cup, calling the tournament a fantastic competition and emphasizing the support that it has received from participating teams, players and managers. Wenger, however, has acknowledged that the summer heat in the United States posed challenges, but said that FIFA has learned the valuable lessons to address these issues, specifically looking ahead to the World Cup. Then in rugby, Springbok fly half Manie Libbok says that he's looking forward to reigniting his halfback partnership with Grant Williams when South Africa face Italy in Gqeberha tomorrow. This will be Libbok's first official test appearance of the season after coming off the bench in the recent non-cap match against the Barbarians at Cape Town Stadium.
Now I'm very excited to play with Granty. Obviously, we had, I think this is going to be our third test match together, playing together. The second one against, or the first one against Argentina, we couldn't obviously Grant got a concussion and he went off early. And then obviously the one against England, where we played nicely together. But for this weekend, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to play with him. And yeah, I'm very much excited.
Meanwhile, the Cheetahs will field two debutants tonight against Georgia in Bloemfontein, marking the 130th anniversary of the Free State Rugby Union. Former UCT winger Ntokozo Makaza starts at number 14, while 20-year-old prop Ben Patoge joins from the bench, and fly half Ethan Wenzel returns from injury, with Pierre Ues also back in the pack. Ending things off with tennis. Defending champion Carlos Alcaraz took the first set 6-4 against Taylor Fritz in that first semi-final. Just looking at the on-the-go results, they're into that second set 3-all, so it'll be interesting to see how this one goes, but keeping a close eye on it. I know that you're also watching it, Ashraf.
Yeah, well, if Alcaraz doesn't reach the final, I'm not watching the final.
Really?
I'd rather swap to listen to Ramaphosa.
Even if Djokovic is in the final?
Oh, now you're reminding me. there's a Djokovic legend who's against, was it Sinner in the other semi-final?
Yeah, it's going to be a blockbuster of a semi-final.
But I like Alcaraz. I mean, I like the player.
Yeah, he's one for the future. I'll have more on other sports in the next hour.
By the way, did you, and if you don't, we can talk about it just now. Did you watch the world's number one seed lose yesterday, women's seed? And again, her
I actually
comments.
missed it, but I saw that she's out.
Okay. Think about her comments. We'll talk about it later on.
Alrighty.
All right.
CFI, a global leader in online trading, is now in South Africa. Access 15,000 plus instruments, currencies, stocks, metals, crypto CFDs, indices, futures, and more on world-class platforms. Enjoy zero pip spreads, no commission fees, and 24/7 support for confident trading. Visit CFI.trade for a secure, transparent trading experience. Don't miss the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda, Tuesdays at 16:45. Proudly sponsored by CFI. CFI Financial, an authorized financial services provider. T's and C's apply.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
My name is Renelle Tamlin Donnelly, and I play striker. What do my teammates call me instead of my actual name? As you know, guys, because I wear a weave, so they call me Slay Queen. Guys, I slay it, so yeah, my favorite hairstyle is a weave. Have I already planned my secret celebration for when I score my first goal at WAFCON? I have, but secret is the code. So tune into SABC Sport to catch my secret celebration in the WAFCON tournament.
Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
SABC News turns 75 on July the 17th, 2025.
Since the dawn of democracy, SABC News has grown into your trusted source for news and current affairs, shaping our nation and the world for the past 75 years.
From July 12th to the 17th, SAFM Current Affairs presents exclusive interviews with iconic presenters, producers, and news leaders.
We're exploring the legacy of SABC News, highlighting the voices that have defined our story.
Join SAFM for a week of compelling reports and unforgettable moments.
SABC News at 75.
Independent and impartial.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Okay, so here's the question to you, which is what I put to Mzwandile Mbeje, right? Which is, the president will talk on Sunday evening at 7 p.m. What for you, whatever he's going to say, what for you would constitute the high road of his pronouncements? What for you would constitute his low road? I really want to know, because we all don't really know what's going to happen, but we have different opinions. So 086 000 2032, WhatsApp 0614 104 107, and you can tweet it even now as well. You can also probably tweet about your thoughts that South Africa now ranked as the world's most dangerous country to drive in. Now you're telling us. We'll come to that just now. But in the meantime, let's talk about another story that's dominated the news cycle for the entire week, and that is the passing away of the former Deputy President of South Africa, David Mabuza. So with the funeral itself is on tomorrow. There's been lots of moments of sympathy and sympathizers all week and memorial services. Let's now, as we get to final preparations for the funeral, let's speak to Desmond Mwela, who's a family spokesperson, also a member of the ANC. Desmond, appreciate your time here on the National Pulse.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate this opportunity. Greetings to yourselves.
Thank you.
And all our listeners.
Thank you. I mean, I take it still the tone and the mood of the home and the extended members of the family must be very, very somber. And again, as you balance it out between his role as, a former deputy president, a political leader, but also ultimately, a family member.
A very somber situation, mood. Extremely emotional, since that Mr. Mabuza, the former deputy president, has just arrived now at home. So we are still trying to find ourselves as the family, but we are looking forward for all the processes to proceed as planned. Like we indicated earlier on, through your media industry, we have outlined the processes, and we are confirming even today that the funeral is taking place tomorrow at Nelspruit Bergflam. So we are proceeding tomorrow with the funeral, and we really appreciate. I think it's important that we must appreciate as a family all the messages that we're receiving as the family, and indeed we've strengthened the family. We really appreciate all the messages of condolences.
Okay.
We don't take that light as the family.
So where are you now? And I mean, who's there now? What can you tell us right now in terms of who's visiting, who's sympathizing? Can you tell us anything?
No, we are now at home in Paraton. The former deputy president has just arrived at home.
Mm-hmm.
So we have, I've seen the Secretary General of the ANC here. I've seen a number of members of the NSC are here, including the Premier of Mpumalanga province is also here. So I've seen a number of dignitaries that are here to come and pay their last respect to the former Deputy President.
Okay. And in terms of then the final preparations between now and tomorrow, what are the preparations that still need to be sorted out?
No, the preparations are that now there is a guard of honor outside the house where all members are gathered, outside the family house where they are paying their last respect with a candle lighting, of course, and then after that, tomorrow, the church service will start early in the morning. All monarchs are expected to be seated by 8:30. So that's the plan for now.
And then for tomorrow itself, what can you tell us about the actual funeral?
Now, the actual funeral is that it will start exactly 9 o'clock, and then it will be addressed by few speakers, including the President of the Republic of South Africa. And then immediately when they are done with that particular session, the family then proceed to Barberton, where Mr. Mabuza will be laid to rest.
Is there anything you may want to share, considering you are the family spokesperson, in terms of the family's response to the many moments of and words of sympathy from many people across the country?
We appreciate, except to appreciate, we really appreciate all the messages across the country and including the African countries. Those messages that we were receiving as the family, they really actually assisted us. They've strengthened the family. We are actually indeed appreciating all the messages of condolences that were received by the family, and we appreciate.
Is there any final thought that you'd like to share with us? Maybe just something that you feel it's important and we need to know?
We'll miss Mr. Mabuza, his kindness, and we'll miss Mr. Mabuza with everything, because Mr. Mabuza was everything to the family. So he's going to be missed very much. And we are letting him go under difficult circumstances.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time and best wishes for the next few hours in preparation for the funeral proper, and then, of course, on the funeral itself. Thank you for your time. Desmond Mwela, the ANC member, but significantly the family spokesperson as well. So we'll get on to another issue that's concerning, which is the issue of how South Africans drive, right after this.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
I'll tell you what, if you know me well enough, I often talk about champions and trying to build South Africa into a champion nation, being best in class. You don't want to be best in class when it comes to this survey. An online education platform, a driver's education platform called Zobi, Z-O-B-I. Well, they've ranked South Africa as number one. Number one as in the world's most dangerous country to drive in. Sure, why do they come up with that? We may say we know that anyway, but let's understand what the story really is with Carol Smith, founder and director of the South Africans Against Drunk Driving. Carol, appreciate your time here. Thanks for connecting to us on the National Pulse.
Pleasure. Good afternoon, Ashraf.
Thank you. First of all, does this ranking, does that surprise someone like yourself, considering that you do spend a lot of time, campaigning against drunken driving?
Ashraf, unfortunately, it doesn't surprise me. Sorry, excuse me. I'm actually internationally trained in all road safety matters. And so, it's not just drunk driving. Around the world, we're all working on things like reducing speed, because our speeds in South Africa are way too high on the highways, as well as especially in the towns, where 40 to 50% of the people who killed are pedestrians, and a lot of that is people in town, because people are speeding down the small streets. So yes, we've got very good laws. We've got some of the best laws in the country, in the world, in fact, but we just don't enforce them, and we tend to really concentrate on education. And education is just a very small part of solving road safety problems.
Of course. Now, you've certainly seen that survey, right? What did the survey say in coming up with a conclusion that South Africa is the worst, top of the worst in this case here?
So basically they're saying that the percentage of crashes caused by alcohol are very, very high, about 57%. People have been quoting that for many years. I think it's probably true, if not even higher, because we don't test all drivers at crash scenes. If we also look at the number of intoxicated pedestrians who are crossing roads. So alcohol is an enormous problem, not only on the road, but just in society at the moment. We really need to work very, very hard on our alcohol problem. The other thing that is very, very concerning, and it's so easy to remedy, is the fact that people are just not buckling up. Only a very small percentage of people are buckling up as drivers, and then even fewer passengers. And then if you look at people in the back seat, they're not buckling up. And, this is something that the government could actually really concentrate on, and they'd get our death and injury rate down by 40% in 1 year, I think, if they just really concentrated on seatbelts. Because if you think of it, Ashraf, at just about any crash scene you hear about, they say people evicted from vehicle, people lying in the felt. And that only happens if you're not in your seat and firmly buckled up.
So what does the law say? I mean, in terms of who needs to be buckled up?
Everybody, every single person.
But the back seat as well. I would have thought it's the driver and the passenger on the front seat, not the back seat.
You think so?
And if I'm being naive, then we got a problem in the whole country. I mean, seriously, in terms of the law.
We do. Yeah, the law says every single person. From about 2014, before then, children under 3 didn't have to be buckled up. But now they have to be buckled up. So every single person has to be buckled up because, if you look at the safe systems approach, what the safe systems approach says is that people make mistakes, but they shouldn't die because of that. So if somebody, say, made a mistake and skidded and say they rolled. I mean, they usually roll because they're driving too fast. But if they buckled up and they're safe in that car, the chance of them being killed is then very, very, it's lessened. Yeah. So we've got to get our speeds down. We've also got to get our roads and roadsides done better. I mean, we have places called black spots where crash after crash after crash happen. We should be analyzing that data and not just analyzing and saying that's a black spot. We should say, this is where people overtake dangerously. Put a barrier in between them.
The very fact you say we should be suggests it's not happening. Let's get more on that in a moment.
Spar brings you super savings. Get 200-gram Baker's Red Label cream biscuits. Buy any 2 for 38 Rand. Plus 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Or 400-gram Black Cat peanut butter, excluding no sugar, for 34.99 and save 15 Rand. Plus, you could win your share of 6 million Rand in instant cash. Price is valid until 21 July 2025. While stocks last. T's and C's apply.
Hi, I'm Zycard. Catch me every Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. on Spotlight as we bring you blow-by-blow sporting action, news. That's Spotlight every Saturday. You don't want to miss it.
X at SFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
So if South Africa are the world champions of dangerous driving, then who are the big losers? And I understand the big losers are, in fact, Norway, which means they're the big winners, really speaking. Carol Smith, still with me, the founder of South Africans Against Drunk Driving. Let's talk about enforcement, Carol. Well, first of all, you spoke about specific spots, right? And you said perhaps using modern technology in terms of analysis and other issues around law enforcement. Do I get it that you would agree that law enforcement is actually inadequate?
I would. If you look at the fact that although they test a lot of, thousands and thousands of people for alcohol every year, they should actually be testing every single driver. So we have 13 million drivers. We should be doing 13 million tests a year. We're not getting near that. Those people are over. So 50% of them would be over, 50% is from crashes. And they should then go to court. They should have people in court who understand drink driving is a serious crime, and those people should get a criminal record and have their license suspended. And if they kill, they should go to jail. Because the only thing around the world that works is if people are scared of the legal and financial implication of their actions. South Africa people drink and drive because they can.
So you're saying, I mean, you may be stating the obvious because people, what works is people, the fear of being imprisoned. So in which countries has that worked where it's been so effective that it's been admirable?
Sweden. I mean, if you go to Sweden, I went to Sweden to the global launch, and what they've got such a low drunk driving rate now that, in fact, the traffic officers have got so much time that what they do is they go and park outside bottle stores, and when they see the people coming in at 10 o'clock to buy their alcohol, see them drive in, when they get into their car, when they're going out, they breathalyze them. And because a lot of people who say buying that early might have alcohol problems, they get them. They can fine them for drinking and driving. Then they get them into alcohol programs. But we're not even catching people. And Ashraf, this is the fact. If we say we had a new airline called Air South Africa, and that Air South Africa had 66 air crashes a year, 66 planes going down, would we accept that airline? No. But we have the equivalent of 66 737s crashing every single year, killing everyone on board, and maybe 120 or 300 that crash and everyone's severely injured. We don't even talk about the injured.
I think it's a point well made. I mean, the number is 24.5 road traffic deaths for South Africa per 100,000 people. And I mean, some countries have got like 5 per 100,000, as ridiculous as that. Bolivia, 3.5 is where it is. I mean, it's just crazy. I also noticed that Malaysia dropped off considerably because of the almost zero alcohol rate in terms of alcohol driving, drinking alcohol and driving. But just the last thing, right? Outside of enforcement, I mean, we speak about this often. It would need an attitudinal change. Now, you're part of a lobby group, really. But who changes the attitude? Does the attitude come from government, or does the attitude come from civil society at community level that filters down into churches and mosques and synagogues and mandiras and schools? Where does this actually work best?
Well, if you take Australia, attitude changes because people are scared of the repercussions. So in Australia, people get tested so often that if your friend was at a pub and was drinking and they'd had a few beers, you wouldn't let them drive. You'd say, "Oh no, please don't drive. You're going to get caught. You're going to get a criminal record. You're going to lose your license, and you probably will lose your job because, like in England, you lose your job if you've got a drink driving conviction." So behavior changes from people being scared of the repercussions and everyone helping them to change that attitude. Whereas in South Africa, we go, ha, 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 have one for the road. We do exactly the opposite. We see drinking and driving as a right and as something that's funny, and it is really a serious crime.
Okay, that's where we're going to leave it. It's really a serious crime, says Carol Smith, and confirmed by South Africa's incredibly high rate of deaths, very, very, on the roads, that is, right? Carol Smith, the founder director of the South Africans Against Drunk Driving. Like, seriously to you, how can we, and that's another problem, what do we need to do if you were the Minister of Transport, something like that? What would you do to reduce the accident rate on South Africa's roads? Like, what's the one thing by decree you would see change, like right now? This is the National Pulse.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
And let's hear it about the high road of Ramaphosa's announcement or the low road of his announcement. I certainly want to know as well. That happens on Sunday evening. In the meantime, let's go to Flagstaff with Sitambele. Go for it. Hi.
Sure. I think president needs to be radical when it comes.
Sure. So Sitambele, I'm. You know what? We are so losing you because the line is just so bad. Let's see if we can get you back on a better line. At the moment, we're just struggling to hear you. My apology for that as well. I want to pick out some of the other comments we've had based upon the conversations we've just had. Here's one.
Ashraf, good afternoon to you. In the meantime, if it happens that there's going to be a commission of inquiry or a judicial commission of inquiry what happens in the meantime for the minister? Is the minister going to be fired? Is going to be suspended? What is it that is going to is going to happen? This is Martin from Iro Park. Thanks.
Thanks for that. But I mean, that's the point. We don't know. So one thing could be a commission or something else. But does he actually fire the person, dismissed, or are there grounds not to do that because that would be very, very precarious? Or does he say at least step aside, suspended? We don't know. We know what you think, but we don't know, right? But can he actually perform? Can the Minister of Police be in charge after Sunday while some form of investigation is taking place? I don't know. I don't think so, isn't it? Impo in Mankaung, go for it.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf,
yeah.
You know the story about Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. It's not fiction. Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi is not telling lies like other people are saying. I've got an acquaintance of mine here. This boy is in police. Actually, he's in crime intelligence. He once told me a story about where he was given information by one of his handlers about somebody who's selling drugs somewhere in the township. And this guy, they went there and then they trapped this guy and then they found the drugs there. And then once they managed to find the drugs and arrested this guy says to this young man, can you borrow me your phone? And I want to phone somebody to report that I'm arrested. This person must come and assist me to take me to the police. Now he gives him the phone to phone this person. And now, when the number rings, he sees, no man, this is actually my commander. This guy is phoning my commander, and then he gives the phone to this policeman and says, this policeman said to me, no man, leave that guy, man, I'll sort him out. Now, what Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi is saying, there's 100% truth in those stuff. There are policemen who are in the drug lord's pockets.
Yeah, I hear you, but that's what needs to be tested now, right? So we can't say that what he's saying is absolutely correct on face value just because he says so. It has to be tested in a court of law, or obviously those who have been pointed out must come up and admit so. Either way, the president has to make some very important decisions because we're talking about the leadership of not just the country but important, significant organs of state here. That something has to give, right? 4 o'clock. In the meantime, I'll tell you, by the way, we'll chat to Sipho Sithole in the fireside chat after 5 o'clock, as we do every Friday. We speak to one person for an hour. Looking forward to that conversation. Sipho Sithole, or as you may remind me, now Dr. Sipho Sithole. And somehow the issues of Zulu language and culture will come into that conversation. Let's get the news. It's 4 o'clock.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the top story, SAU Post Office receives close to 2 billion rand bailout, and Mabuza's body transported from the mortuary to his home. For SAFM News, I am Onde Lambana, and a very good afternoon. The struggling South African Post Office has received a 1.8 billion rand bailout to stabilize its operations. This was revealed by Communications and Digital Technologies Minister Solly Malatsi when he was presenting his department's budget vote in Parliament. Malatsi says universal access to post office services as well as digital connectivity remains a priority.
The SA Connect program has been allocated 710 million to accelerate broadband expansion, particularly in schools, clinics and rural communities where access remains limited. The South African Post Office is allocated 1.8 billion to fulfill its universal services obligations and improve service delivery. This funding will help support SAPO's efforts to diversify revenue, rebuild trust and stabilize operations.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says the National Dialogue Preparatory Task Team should not be distracted from its work following the announcement of the exorbitant bill for the engagement processes. The Preparatory Task Team has estimated that the National Dialogue will cost the taxpayer an estimated 700 million rand. The costs of the dialogue have been met with criticism from various sectors of society, but Ramaphosa says while there has been criticism, he knows South Africans want to be heard.
We should not be surprised if there is skepticism or disinterest from some quarters of South African society about the national dialogue. We have already been confronted by the challenge of misinformation and misrepresentation, whether on what is perceived as the high cost of the national dialogue or on who is running it.
The South African Weather Service has issued a weather warning for disruptive rainfall that could lead to localized flooding in areas along the coast of KwaZulu-Natal. These areas include Durban, KwaDukuza, Mandeni, Ndwedwe, Umdoni, Umlalazi and Umzumbe. The Weather Service say the areas should brace for 30 to 50 millimeters of rain. The rains will persist from this evening into the weekend. Mpumalanga Premier Mandla Ndlovu and ANC Provincial Secretary Muzi Chirwa are part of the delegation which has fetched the body of former Deputy President David Mabuza from the mortuary in Bombela for transportation to his family home in Barberton. ANC members, friends and neighbours are expected to line the route in tribute to Mabuza, who led the province for nearly a decade from 2009 to February 2018. Mabuza will receive an official state funeral at the Horse School, Beglam, tomorrow, where approximately 3,000 mourners are expected to attend. His private burial service will then take place at Barberton. Gaza's main hospital that's still functioning, the Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, has stopped admitting casualties after being encircled by Israeli forces. The BBC's Rushdie Abu Alouf reports.
The hospital last night announced that they are not receiving or admitting any more injured or dead people because the area was very dangerous. Now they are assisting the situation to see if they can start operating again. But just to give you a little bit about the hospital, Nasser Hospital is the only functioning hospital in southern Gaza. In addition to the Israeli troops around the hospital said yesterday that they are running out of fuel to run the essential operations.
Recapping the top story, the struggling South African Post Office has received a 1.8 billion rand bailout to stabilize its operations. I am Ondalambana for SAFM News Headlines at 4:30.
In sports this hour, Ellis not underestimating any opponents at the WAFCON, and Leroux eyes history. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 northbound has a crash at Woodmead Drive, the N1 northbound in Midrand, a crash before Samrand Road, and the N3 northbound in Bedfordview, a crash near Van Buren Road. All lanes are open. In KZN, the M7 St. John's Avenue is queuing through central Pinetown, the N2 southbound slow moving towards Spaghetti Junction, and Umgeni Road westbound slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, the M5 southbound queuing towards Krombom Road exit. The N1 outbound is queuing as you approach Okavango Road, and Voortrekker Road outbound slow moving through Maitland. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, leading the conversation.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
This Mandela Month, SAFM celebrates the spirit of Ubuntu, calling on all South Africans to engage, uplift, and do good for one another. Let's share what we have, lend a helping hand, and honor Madiba's legacy through kindness and action. Join SAFM as we bring you powerful conversations, inspiring stories, and voices that drive change all month long. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Okay, let me remind you that SABC Sport brings you Chasing the Sun, which is the 5-part documentary series about the Springboks winning the 2019 Rugby World Cup. Remember, from being no-hopers after being thrashed by the All Blacks a year before and then Rassie Erasmus taking over, winning it with Siya Kolisi. So it all happens this Sunday, 13th of July, 7:30 p.m. on SABC2, and then goes on for the next 4 Sundays as well, right? And this is interesting too. You can also stream it, each chapter that is, on SABC Plus. So download the app anytime, anywhere, no subscription needed. Don't miss Chasing the Sun this Sunday, 7:30 p.m. on SABC2. Be there when history shines.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, so Sipho Sithole, we'll talk to him after 5 o'clock. You know, he's done many things in his life, including being in a significant stakeholder position at SABC a long time ago, but also at Prasa. But he's part of what Native Rhythms, if I got that right, and heads that up in terms of understanding, South African music, a big label. But currently, lecturing in the USA on the Zulu language and the Zulu culture. So we're going to talk to him because he's in the country. And he's our fireside chat. And you please do join us as well, right? Let's, however, talk about another big issue as we still grapple with South Africa, the high road of Sunday night or the low road, depending on what Ramaphosa will tell us. In the meantime, the president held his inaugural meeting with members of the National Dialogue Eminent Persons Group, remember, at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. So Ramaphosa told the group not to be cheerleaders of the dialogue, and expected that there'll be criticism in the way they are supposed to go about doing their work.
We are asking you as eminent persons to be the champions of the national dialogue, not cheerleaders. We expect that you will critically consider the progress and the conduct of the national dialogue and provide advice where correction is required. If there are people being left out, we ask that you raise it. If there is confusion or misunderstanding or disarray, we ask that you help correct it. If there are groups that seek to commandeer the process, we ask that you alert us. We expect that the national dialogue process will be contested. The country is contested, that it may be used to score political points or to advance particular interests. We should not be surprised if there is skepticism or disinterest from some quarters of South African society about the national dialogue. We have already been confronted by the challenge of misinformation and misrepresentation, whether on what is perceived as the high cost of the national dialogue or on who is running it. But that should not distract us from the work that we have to do, to give a platform to be heard, and so that they may be counted. What I do know for a fact about South Africans is that they want to be heard. They want to participate. They want to be included in whatever process that is meant to direct their lives, to improve their lives, or to take their lives forward. We should therefore not fear criticism. In fact, we should welcome it. Criticism, in the end, is a signal that South Africans care about the country and are heavily invested in its future.
Okay, that's the president. Let's get reaction to understand a bit more about what he said. With me is the SABC News reporter, Sibatle Mota, who was at the Union Buildings this morning. Sibatle, good to connect with you as always on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon to you, Ashraf, as well as the listeners.
Thank you so much. Right. So, we played the clip. We've got some sense of what he's saying, but of course he must have said a lot more. So maybe fill in the blanks.
Definitely, Ashraf. I think today was just his first meeting with this eminent persons group, which is set to give this 31-member group some marching orders on what needs to be done to promote this national dialogue that has been muchly criticized as well as muchly anticipated by the public. So I think more than anything, today's meeting was for the president to meet the various people who will comprise of this eminent persons group, and just for them to give direction on what needs to be done and how they can be ambassadors. I mean, as you have played the clip, he rightfully said that he does not want cheerleaders, but he wants people, who would somehow promote and advocate for this national dialogue, but also have be quite critical and listen to what the people on the ground are saying. So that was a meeting basically with this eminent persons group. And I just need to highlight that the marching orders, obviously, the eminent persons group would meet behind closed doors with the preparatory task team as well as their interministerial committee, just to forge a way forward leading up to this national dialogue.
How was the president's address then received by the eminent persons?
I mean, a funny thing is that while a lot of these eminent persons are quite excited for the opportunity, some have been critical of it. And one of them is Nobendula Mkhatshwa, who serves in the Ministry of Children and Disabled Persons, where she has highlighted that out of this 31-member group, only 3 people are actually young people under the age of 35, and it's her, Miss South Africa, as well as Siya Kolisi, who are the young people in this group. So some of the points that she brought out is that she does feel like maybe there could have been more young people who were brought in. As you know, I mean, part of the criticism of this national dialogue and these ambassadors who have been appointed by Cyril Ramaphosa is the fact that a lot of them are older, and some have been criticized to saying that they are being ageist by raising such issues and concerns. But I think it was a difficult pill to swallow, Ashraf. I mean, seeing that in this 31 group, it's only 3 young people who are representing and going out into South Africa. Yes.
Did it come through at all that did anybody refuse or the invitation to serve on this group?
No, not at all, and nothing like that. I mean, all the people who have been chosen by the president, he had initially, they've sent out letters, and people have actually accepted the invitation. So there is nothing like that. Nobody that I know of or that has been highlighted who has rejected maybe the call by the president to come and join the eminent persons group.
Mm-hmm. And now, did the president address that issue about just 3 young people in the entire group of 31 or so, that it was completely disproportionate? Did he say anything about it?
No, he did not say anything about that, but he did say, I mean, despite the criticism, the preparatory task team as well as his eminent persons group, must not be discouraged by the criticism as it is going to come. And even him saying that, I mean, some political parties may even use it as a political scoring exercise, So the criticism has come. And importantly, Ashraf, I also just need to highlight the fact of the cost of this national dialogue. We did manage to speak to the finance minister, Enoch Godongwana, who said that when they initially received the draft budget, he did say, I think the preparatory task team needs to go back and trim down the cost as they can't afford such an exorbitant amount. So I think one of the changes that listeners or even South Africans can expect in the future is the fact that this budget will be revised down and not be hoping that it won't be as high as it is now.
Did the president give specific timelines in terms of, what needs to happen and over what time period?
So what we did get in the package, Ashraf, is the fact that, the timeline of when he actually stated this national convention will take place. But what I do know is the fact that the district and sectorial dialogues will occur between November this year and February next year, and we can expect the last, events to take place next year around August, September. So this is the process is going to be a long one, where government and this preparatory task team will go out into various communities to try and engage with South Africans on what needs to be the next plan for South Africa. So it is quite a long journey, and we should have something. They should have wrapped out by possibly October even next year, according to the timeline that we've been handed today.
And I mean, just lastly, on the issue of the actual teeth and muscle of this grouping, the eminent persons group, did that come up in conversation in terms of what they can do? Because as I speak to you again, there's a thought, and I know this is not a commission of inquiry, but people are so critical of that. I had to repeat the point to say maybe these commissions of inquiry need to be inquired about as well anyway, right? Did that come up in terms of what can they, whatever their opinions are and recommendations, what happens next?
So what my understanding is that when we spoke to some eminent persons before they went into a closed session, is that they would get the marching orders from the president there. And I mean, one of the people that we did speak to, she was saying that she's very good at organizing and sort of bringing the young people together. And she believes that her experience in hosting such engagements and bringing people together will actually help. So I'm assuming that each person that has been appointed on this eminent persons group will identify key areas that they can go to and actually initiate some sort of dialogue with the people that are surrounding them or the people that they can relate to. So there isn't much clarity on that, but my understanding is that the diverse group of people will go out into the diverse communities and sort of like form dialogues on what they believe should be the next step for South Africa.
And just finally, very quickly, there's been suggestions from many people who watched some of those clips on the press conference, or the briefing, and the videos to say, holy, the president, he just looks under the weather or sounds very off key, right? Did he or anybody say anything about it? That he sounds very fluid, like the voice is gone.
Yes, definitely. I mean, he did make mention to the fact that it's due to his recent trip to Brazil. So he did catch the cold, but I mean, he'll be ready for all South Africans to listen to him while he delivers the address, I think on Sunday at 7 p.m.
Okay, and that's where we're going to leave it. He's got 2 days to get his sound or his voices together, and maybe the act as well. Sibatle Mota, SABC News reporter in Pretoria, reflecting on that meeting of the eminent persons group that makes up this national dialogue ahead of maybe a very, very hectic few months for that grouping towards the end of the year and the beginning of next year. Never mind what you may think about it. Appreciate your time here on the National Pulse.
Spar brings you Super Savings. Get 750ml Sunlight dishwashing liquid refill for R26.99 and save 11 Rand, or 400ml Vaseline lotion or cream for R49.99 and save 28 Rand. Plus, you could win your share of 6 million Rand in instant cash. Price is valid until 21 July 2025 while stocks last. T's and C's apply.
Champions need motivation above and beyond winning. South Africa, show your love and support for the WAFCON defending champions Banyana Banyana. Witness the Caps Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024 from 5 to 26 July 2025 on SABC Plus, S3, SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC radio stations. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Okay, let's get moving into another story. And by the way, Sipho Sitoli coming up after 5 o'clock. Do not miss that, right? So, and we've discussed it, since the pronouncements from General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi on Sunday, there's been reaction across the board. And he's said many things, in terms of, maybe high-ranking business people, politicians, people in the South African Police Service, and then the Minister of Police. But significantly, he also implied that the judiciary has been compromised, and it's that red flag that has certainly got the judiciary and members of the legal fraternity very, very concerned, right? So let's find out about it, because I understand that the judiciary has issued now a statement expressing their concern and maybe what actions need to be taken to prove those claims. So let's find out more about it with Judge President Cagney Musi, who's the judiciary spokesperson and Judge President of the Free State High Court. Appreciate you connecting to us here on the National Pulse, Judge President.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and to your listeners.
Thank you. So you issued a statement, right? What is it about Mkhwanazi's comments that the judiciary in particular finds so unsettling?
Well, our concern is based on the allegation that some members of the judiciary are in cahoots with people who are either investigated for criminal activities or, as he says, he has evidence, who are implicated in criminal activities.
Okay, when you first heard about it, when I say you, I'm speaking in the plural sense, like the entire judiciary. When you first heard about this, I mean, what was the immediate reaction?
Well, the immediate reaction was, well, here are allegations made without a factual substratum, without any substantiation, because he just said there are members of the judiciary who are in colludes with people who are suspected of or investigated of criminal activity. Now, no mention was made of any name. No mention was made as to whether it's members of the High Court judiciary or the lower court judiciary. What he did mention was an order which emanated from the Magistrates Court.
Right. And listen, I'm not in your WhatsApp group, but I would think that at that time, members of your WhatsApp group would have probably been furious and infuriated, right?
Obviously, yes.
Yeah. So what is your... yeah, carry on.
No, and everybody wants to know what is the factual basis, who is actually implicated in this. Because it is also in the judiciary's interest, Ashraf, you must understand, that we root out every and any judicial officer who is corrupt. So we welcome complaints. And that is our plea, actually, to Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. If there are any facts, he should feel free, if it's a judge, to complain to the Judicial Service Commission, lodge a formal complaint there. If it is a magistrate, he should feel free to lodge a complaint at the Magistrates Commission against that particular magistrate or judge.
You know, it's interesting you say feel free, because the climate is that you can't feel free. There's so many problems when people are compromised. There's points about assassinations or attempted assassinations of high-profile, people, whether it's at community level or local government level and higher, just about every day. So how does one feel free to just come forward when the evidence suggests that you can't feel free?
Well, Ashraf, if we keep this fact-specific, this is a high-ranking police officer who called a press conference and made all these allegations in public and actually said that he does not care about the consequences. But I'm not talking about a whistleblower here or somebody that wants to lodge an anonymous complaint. This is somebody who said it out there in public and also said, well, I am not scared. I am prepared to face the consequences of what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's a point well made that, whistleblowers will be on the outside. This is somebody, excuse me, very much on the inside in terms of the police service. So I think it's a point well made. Now, having said that, right, do you think, therefore, procedurally, that Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi went about it the right way or not?
Well, as far as it pertains to the judiciary, and I would like to limit myself to the judiciary, I think, and it is also the view of some of my colleagues, that he went about it the wrong way. The right way is to lodge a formal complaint against that particular judicial officer that he is of the view that it needs to be investigated firstly, or if he has facts and evidence about that particular judicial officer, he should have lodged a formal complaint at the Judicial Service Commission or the Magistrates Commission. That is as far as the procedural issues are concerned.
Okay, so again, staying with the judiciary only then, considering what you've just said, why do you think then he went about it this way when then maybe he ought to have known better?
Well, probably because he called the press conference and he dealt with the broader issues. And as part of the broader issue, he mentioned the judiciary. And look, Ashraf, I'm not by any means saying that the judiciary is a holy cow. If he has the evidence and the facts against the judiciary, he should come forth with the facts.
And just the last thing, has anybody else come forth with facts before, let's say in the last year or two, things that maybe is being investigated or not being investigated, but people have come forward and said that?
Ashraf, the Judicial Conduct Committee, which is a subcommittee of the Judicial Service Commission, is inundated with complaints against the judiciary. Likewise, the Magistrates Commission. So people are lodging complaints to the extent that the current complement of judges who deal with those complaints need to be extended because they are just overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed by the amount of complaints. So people do lodge complaints against the judiciary.
Yeah. Just is there a final point you wish to, punctuate?
Well, Ashraf, again, and this is literally an invitation to the broader public out there. If any person has a complaint against a judge, that person should lodge a formal complaint with the Judicial Service Commission. It will be investigated. If the person has a complaint against a magistrate, the complaint should be lodged at the Magistrates Commission. Because, as I said earlier, integrity is our only currency. If the people out there do not believe that their complaints or their cases will be dealt with integrity, will be dealt with impartially, that erodes the confidence in the judiciary. And when the confidence in the judiciary goes, the rule of law itself is imperiled, and that nobody wants as well.
And that last line is worth repeating. Integrity is our only currency. Appreciate your time, Judge President Cagney Musi, Judiciary spokesperson, but also Judge President of the Free State High Court, reflecting on the pronouncements made by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi last week, Sunday. As a result of that, we'll have another Sunday feedback from a different source, as you know, with the President coming up. Much appreciate your time. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, motorists are warned of the possible closure of some roads in the city of Mbombela, Mpumalanga, due to activities around the funeral of the former Deputy President David Mabuza. The struggling South African Post Office has received a 1.8 billion rand bailout to stabilize its operations, and a baby boy has been rescued after he was dumped in a pit latrine at Sundumbili in north coast of Durban. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 southbound in Diepkloof has a crash at Ranch Show Road, and the N1 southbound in Pretoria, a stationary vehicle after Garsfontein Road. In KZN, the N3 westbound, a stationary vehicle after Ashburton, and the M7 westbound in Pinetown, queuing towards the N3 highway. In Cape Town, 35th Avenue southbound in Alcystrow is slow moving towards Owen Road, and the N1 outbound queuing as you approach Okavango Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Yeah, I've got one eye on the Wimbledon semi-final, but I think the other eye very much fixated on today's big game for Banyana. You've got more to me.
Absolutely. Banyana head coach Desiree Ellis says that there's no room to underestimate any team in the Women's Africa Cup of Nations, as every single match is important. SA face Tanzania in their second group stage match, and a win will see the defending champions book their spot in the quarterfinals.
You underestimate the team at your own peril. You go step onto that field and you're saying it's 11v11, let's take our chances, let's be focused, let's be organised at the back and get the result that we want. But you're playing against an opponent that has analysed you as well, and people forget that. And sometimes when a goal gets scored, people are saying, oh, what a silly goal. But they've analysed, they found an opening there. You're not playing against someone who's just stepped onto the field.
Meanwhile, Tanzania coach Bakari Shime says that they have prepared well to make sure that they secure their first win of the tournament against the defending champions.
We're supposed to get 3 points if we want to go more further in this tournament. So, but all of us, we're supposed to play with the very, very careful because we are a small team in this tournament. I can say that just like that because in terms of FIFA ranking, in terms of number of audition which we participated, it's very low. So we're supposed to be very careful when we play the giant. But the way we are prepare our team, I hope we'll make something good.
Elsewhere, the FIFA Club World Cup final takes centre stage on Sunday with a blockbuster clash between Chelsea and Paris Saint-Germain. It will be the 9th meeting between the two European club giants, and Enzo Maresca's Chelsea are betting to become the first English side to win the tournament twice, while PSG are aiming for a historic quadruple. In rugby, veteran fullback Willie le Roux will earn his 100th Test cap tomorrow, becoming only the 8th player in Springbok history to reach the milestone. Manie Libbok says that it's an honour to share the moment with le Roux, describing him as a true servant of South African rugby and a leader within the squad.
No, Willie is an incredible human being. Very nice guy. Very nice guy to be around. For me, it was nothing but helping from the word go when I got into the Springbok camp from my first camp. He's always there to help, he's always there to give advice, and obviously on the field as well. And I'm just lucky I had the chance this weekend to share the field with him in this special occasion, because obviously it's a huge massive achievement to play under this for your country. So I'm looking forward to go out there this weekend with Willie and just doing my best and trying to make the occasion very special to me.
So le Roux is following in the footsteps of other Centurions like Eben Etzebeth, Victor Matfield, Brian Habana, Tendai Mtawarira, John Smith, Jean de Villiers and Percy Montgomery. Meanwhile, Springbok women's prop Babalwa Laja says that all rugby fans should make their way in the Eastern Cape, should come and support the team at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium this weekend when they take on Canada in a second test match in as many weeks. Lacha says that it's very important for women to receive as much support as possible ahead of the World Cup next year, whether they play at the same venue as their male counterparts or not.
I think it's fantastic to see crowds coming in, coming to watch women's rugby. I think in South Africa, women's rugby is growing tremendously and it's picking up momentum, which is why it's so special for us when we see fans come out to watch. I think it's really important that they keep coming to watch and they keep staying tuned and following women's rugby, because we're on a fantastic journey, and where we're headed, that is to the World Cup, is even more special than playing just before the men.
Then just checking in on Wimbledon, Taylor Fritz is leading by 2 sets over Carlos Alcaraz. He actually just won the third set 6-3. He took the second set 7-5, and Carlos Alcaraz winning that first set 6-4.
I think it's the other way around.
Let me see.
Alcaraz.
Oh, yes, actually, yes. It's actually, the other way around. Actually, Carlos Alcaraz taking that third set 6-3. 7-3, while Taylor Fritz taking the second one 7-5, and that first one 6-4. Actually, you are all right.
And I have to say this because when Alcaraz lost the second set, he was so angry. He stormed his way to winning that third set.
Yeah.
That sense. So he'd be even more angry if he finds out we say he lost it. But anyway, he was.
He won it
furious.
because I kept on looking at the TV and now anyway.
So 2-1 up, yeah.
Yes, so it's 2-1 up. So it seems like Carlos Alcaraz might just win this one and make it through to the final. We are yet to see, but Sabalenka, as you were saying earlier.
Did you? So she lost.
She lost.
The world's number one. Has, I think it's the third Wimbledon semi-final. She's now knocked out yesterday, and of course she lost the French Open a few weeks back, right? So she made some comments then about Gauff that time when she lost, right? What did she say this time? Did you check it out?
I did. When she started the press conference saying that what you saw at the Roland Garros is not going to be happening again this time around. Basically just talking about those comments. And she was very modest with her comments, talking about the 23-year-old Anisimova, who beat her, saying that she actually was more braver than she was in that particular match. And she was.
But I also think she made a point, maybe not as a presser, but in the live thing, where she was complaining about something about a fault that. I don't know the details, but she sort of outed her opposition partner about something she didn't do right. But maybe if somebody knows better, they can tell us. Yeah.
I think they kept on asking her why she didn't say. I think she expected her to say sorry for something that she did. Okay. But
if somebody knows more, they can fill in the blanks. Yeah.
And Alcaraz is leading.
Okay, well there you are. Yeah. By the way, talking about leading. What's his name? The Top Sports show. Michael Abramson's reminding me that tonight's show is the 500th Top Sports show.
Yeah.
So my question is, how many of the 500 have you presented?
I'd have to think about that.
But
anyway, I was also tagged, so I was part of the 500.
The big 500. There we are. Right. So more. Catch Top Sport, the 500 tonight, 7 to 8 with Michael Abramson.
SAFM music crafted to make you feel real good. Handpicked just for your pleasure. Classics sounding so good only on SAFM.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Okay, let's get to those numbers with Paswane Mpatlele, Senior Accounts Manager at Makwe Fund Managers. The last report really from you for the week because it's the weekend. Tell me more, local and global, Paswane.
Atila Ashraf and to all your listeners, happy Friday. We're pulling back local and global developments. And this is at the back of tariff developments being the key highlight. The U.S. still doesn't have deals with many of its key trading partners. And the recent developments from their side is that they've been put in a 35% tariff on Canada and signals a 15 to 20% for other partners without deals. And this has pulled the flow of money outside risk assets in the short term lower. And we've seen money actually basically flowing into the safe haven demand. We've seen gold up 0.9% at $3,352 an ounce. Oil gets a bump, reversing yesterday's losses, up 1.6% at $69.70 a barrel. Growth and inflation is being the driver of consensus currently in the G20 countries. And the dollar is currently enjoying this momentum as it eases its losses. And the correlation with the dollar of many equities is negative. And therefore, we're seeing a pullback in equity performance, especially following all-time highs. U.S. equities is down. We see the down 0.5, S&P down 0.3, Europe DAX CAC down 0.9, FTSE down 0.4, JCs down 0.3, tracked by financials down 2.3% as the rand is weaker. Resource sector is up, holding some benefit of inflation, up 1.7%. And we look at the likes of Bitcoin, they've hit all-time highs at $108,000. And this is at the back of the fact that there's been development around stable coins and bank regulation. They have created a room for more institutional investors to basically come through and buy. And when you look at our currency as a whole, it's weaker. Dollar is still finding some sense of support, and we're still pressured by local issues going into the Sunday. Rand against the dollar sitting at 17.90. 20.3 against the dollar. It's 20.94 against the euro and 20.48 against the pound.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. So you enjoy your weekend, and we will connect with your team on Monday for sure. The other numbers is Eye on Wimbledon. I'll keep you updated. But the very important one is your number. I've got your number. You've got mine, meaning you're on the pulse, aren't you? I need to hear you or feel you after this.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Okay, so a reminder, we'll chat to Sipho Sithole as part of our Friday fireside chat. Looking forward to that conversation. But also the conversations we've been having, and there's been many about many things, been very little global news that anybody has touched on today, amazingly enough. But whatever it is, globally, if you want to touch on something, feel free to do so. Locally, you definitely can do so right now. And specifically, maybe the comments from President Ramaphosa around this the national dialogue and this coming together, the first meeting of the Eminent Persons Group. Are you comfortable with the title, the Eminent Persons Group? There was that eminent group a long, long time ago. Same name we used to do sort of other problems in the world, right? That's one. But then the conversation I had with Mzwandile Mbeja about Sunday night, what's going to happen, what may happen, and he believes there'll be some form of a judicial commission of inquiry. That's what he thinks. But for you, and if I put that to you, what would be the high road? That means, what would he say that you believe the president's just done right? And what would he say that will get you thinking, no, man, he's messed up here? So what's the high road? What's the low road of Sunday night? But that's not all. That conversation about South Africa being number one in the world, the most dangerous country in the world to drive in. No, man, we don't want to win that title. Let's get your comments. Anonymous on the line. Hello, Anonymous.
Hi, hello, good afternoon, Ashraf and the listeners.
Thank you.
SAFM.
Good afternoon.
I actually just want to shoot straight into the issue of the national dialogue, if I may. I do not want to go into the nitty-gritties of the national dialogue, but I would really want to know, in terms of the national dialogue, what is going to happen after the national dialogue, and is a national dialogue really needed? South Africans are dealing with so much, and I want to ask this particular question. Do we not see poverty? Do we not see unemployment? Do we not see gender-based violence? Do we not see all of those negatives as citizens of South Africa, as councillors, as people that are responsible for making communities better, organizations that are responsible for making communities better, and departments that's supposed to make communities better? So my question, Ashraf, is that what is happening after this national dialogue? My take on this is that at a local government level, where councillors are responsible to actually ensure that the lives of communities are being changed through the processes that they are responsible for. When it comes to accountability, they are not doing this. What is this national dialogue going to be given us as communities differently in terms of the responsibilities, while the responsibilities and the accountability lies with all South Africans, but in particularly for those who are accountable.
Okay.
And that is councillors. The other thing is, and when will these national dialogues, these engagements take place? Most of our people are working during the day. They're working in factories, they're working in mines, they're working in different places in the shops.
Okay, can I stop you there, because I need to move on. I think you've made your point, right? So, I mean, Anonymous, I got you. The answer is we don't know what's going to happen next. We do know the period will be from November up to February or so of next year. I mean, the actual timelines, I can't say. Morning, evening, as you said, people working, people not working. Perhaps that will be something that this Eminent Persons Group would have to come up with, right? The ultimate issue is, yes, do they make, and we don't know that for sure, do they make recommendations, but can the recommendations stick? that means the president is not the president of just his party that's a party majority any longer. Those days are gone. He's part of a GNU, so he's got to still consult if there's any major changes that are going to be made in the shaping of the country. I think key to that is a sense that we've lost our social cohesion, and that has to change. So got that, but I think, keep your eye on the pulse, because we are our own national dialogue, Anonymous, and hopefully you get those answers soon, right? Okay, let's get another comment on, there's been no comments more than hashtag Mkhwanazi all week. Bishop, let's get your thoughts. Hello.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
The position that Mkhwanazi have, yes, he did not follow the protocol. But we cannot use the same formula that we used to create a problem and use it to solve a problem. In other words, if he did not breach, complaint will be filed like many others that are not getting any attention. In actual fact, they are swept under the carpet. So breaking the protocol is one of the methods to change the status quo. Whether he's correct or not, but I think the approach he has done, he become the hero. He will go in the books of this country to say he's against corruption.
Bishop, I got that, and I hear what you're saying. And by the way, many people believe that you are right in what you're saying, that yes, maybe by the letter of the law, if I can call it that, he didn't follow the procedures correctly, but then he would have been wiser to that, to say, I can't follow the procedures for reason A, B, C, D, and how we'll judge him based on that is what happens next, isn't it? So thank you for that point. Let's get to another caller. We've got, in fact, we'll get to others in a moment.
All believe they will be crowned champions, but gold medallions are reserved for the best of them all. It is the incredible clash of the 12 African women's national teams. Catch all the 24 matches of the Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024 from 5 to 26 July 2025 on SABC Plus, S3, SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC radio stations. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
I'm Michelle Constant. Join the JSB crew and I every Saturday and Sunday morning between 7 and 10 a.m. We promise to keep you informed and entertained with innovation, culture, cars, travel, life learnings, environment, and of course, your big fat juicy. Small stories, big ideas, massive inspiration. The Jet Set Breakfast on SAFM.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Okay, more calls from you. Lesiba, you have a view too. Let's hear it.
Yes, good afternoon, Asra, and good afternoon to the listeners. You see, Asra, the people that are saying General Mkhwanazi should have followed internal protocols, they are disingenuous with the truth. Because if you check, Asra, last appearance of Commissioner Mkhwanazi before the Portfolio Committee in Parliament, he made these allegations, although he did not go in details, but he did mention about the networks of criminals and the involvement of the minister. But then the members of Parliament decided to ignore it. But lastly, what I want to hear the President saying on Sunday, the President has got a constitutional prerogative. He must relieve Minister Mchunu of his duty, because Minister Mchunu is being appointed as a minister. As he gets appointed there, the President did not give the reason. Even now, if indeed the President is in touch with the realities, in touch with the people on the ground, then we'll have to understand that the man must be released. If he's fired, I don't know how you will call it, the media, but we need a new Minister of Safety and Security there. Then as for Deputy Commissioner, then the internal processes should be followed. That's where the Commissioner Masemola must make sure that he followed the internal processes, but he must be suspended so that whoever's going to appear before the committee and other internal processes should not be fearing to get, because these people are not just very dangerous, are really, really dangerous, because we are talking like this. Many people are dying and they will continue to die. So we are saying, let us be careful. And what is going to happen to Mkonazi? It will prove to us when always the government say, bring the evidence, this is Mkonazi. He brought the evidence, although it's not complete, but we'll see how they handle it. The way they are going to handle him, we will judge them. But lastly, we in the next election, if the ANC and the ANC president they are going to mishandle this one, we as the voters will use our prerogative in the next election, which is local government, to make sure that we choose the party that will trust that it will hear what we are saying on the ground. It's our prerogative. Ramaphosa has got this prerogative are given to him by the Constitution to remove Mutunu there without even giving reason.
Okay, I got that. I think you sound like a politician in the last line to say we as the voters, but I mean, I hear you. You're quite correct that we had a period when the president has to look at what's going to happen next, local government election and beyond. So there's a barometer in terms of decisions made that we'll be measuring it by. So thank you for that, Lesiba. There's more. There's so many comments on, and then many of them link around even in the issue of the judge president and what they felt, the judiciary rather. Anonymous, let's get your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon, Ashraf and the viewers.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Mine is very short. The judge president is questioning the credibility of the judiciary, and on this case, there is this matter of Mr. Swart. So the matter accused in Mr. Swart, it has been found that he's having a fraudulent passport from Lesotho. And the first thing when a person or an accused is applying for a bail, the first thing is to check is to say whether is he or she a flight risk. But in this case, a matter accused is a flight risk, moreover with a fraudulent passport from Lesotho and is giving bail. So what do they want us? Do they want the names? Can they see that whoever was presiding over that thing, over that case is bought? Thank you very much.
Okay, got that. Certainly lots to say from another anonymous person. And in fact, someone saying, what, let me see, what protocol, I think it is. It's just, what protocols do criminals follow? Do they follow protocols? Of course they don't. And I think that point is well made. Nkosikule, go for it.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Ashraf.
Good afternoon. Right, let's hear you.
Yes. I think it will be a dereliction of duty if the judiciary does not follow up on what General Mkhwanazi has mentioned, especially because they have a duty to investigate complaints that come their way. If a complaint comes, for example, in a way of a letter, as opposed to what is prescribed as an affidavit or a sworn statement, then the receiving institution is supposed to advise whoever is complaining that, could you please put your complaint in a form of a letter or an affidavit for us to process it.
Well, I would think they would have done that anyway. I mean, because they can't act on the basis of a broad statement. So they would need facts and figures about actual names of people, which is something we don't have at the moment. So, yeah,
but
I got you.
But your guest didn't mention that this is the step that they have taken as the judiciary. He just says, no, it was informal, and so it was informal. I mentioned this also because of the sensitivity of the nature, the sensitive nature of the complaint.
I think he didn't mention it because we didn't ask him, because I think it's an obvious thing that what happens next is they need the facts and figures beyond the broad statement. So I hear you. Thank you for that, right?
Yes,
okay.
but that's one last part is that the DTRU and the UCT, University of Cape Town, they issued this annual report about the perception of magistrates in terms of their security and safety in doing their work. The last one was in February 2024, and I wrote an opinion piece about that. The magistrates do say that they fear doing their work because of the threats. So the issue is that if there is anything to hold by in terms of this allegation that has been made, many people will be afraid to come forward. Hence, it will be incumbent upon the judiciary to follow what General Mkhwanazi, whose security has been beefed up, because not many people can just come free.
Okay, got that. Thank you for that point. And there's another one, Ashraf, SAFM, hi. I want to talk about the national dialogue. I want to know what happened to the $500 billion loan that came into the country in 2020 during the coronavirus that was meant to give us, the people, masks and biohazard suits. Okay. Can you remember? Fill us in on the details so that we got it all right. Right, let's talk about the Sunday family meetings.
Ashraf, this is Nonde, right here in Cape Town. You know, I'm not looking forward for this Sunday meeting, you know. From Kabisin Lechana, Professor of Politics at UJ, Cyril Ramaphosa is a serial compromiser. You know, to put it mildly, he likes consensus, you know, no matter how long that takes. So, this will be a judicial inquiry lasting, I don't know for how long. Recommendations to be implemented. My good grief, I'm not hopeful.
Okay, you are not. What you said, a serial compromiser. But some may say being consultative is exactly what's needed in the country. Can you imagine a person ruling by decree? It does happen in some countries. You know that.
Good afternoon, Ashraf and the SA listener and your team in the studio. Ashraf, on the president who's going to speak, don't expect much. It's always going to be long speech, going around and around. The minister will still be there. There's going to be no change. So the president will put the country in jeopardy. I feel like when it comes about the crime, the politicians don't want to do anything to fight, to combat crime. They don't do anything. They don't change the law. They don't vote any law to stop the crime. So don't expect much here in Cape Town. Thank you.
Okay, interesting one there too. And there's more. And I'll take a couple of quick ones before we get to the news, right? Here's one too.
Ashraf, we must all remember this is Cyril's comrade. Doesn't matter if he's a minister working under Cyril as president, but he is a comrade and an ally of Cyril. So nothing is really expected from us in terms of what Cyril's going to do. He needs a backbone, Teresa.
Why do we think he doesn't have a backbone? I mean, seriously, why do we think? And then who's had a backbone in terms of leadership of the country, say in the last 20-odd years or more?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf, I can still hear the heartbreak in Carol Smith's voice from my own personal devastating experience almost 2 decades ago. And I just wish to sympathize with her, but she's carrying such a big fight throughout so far, and I'm quite surprised hearing on the radio that she managed to stick to the cause for so long. Kudos to her, and may her fight continue.
That's a good point that you bring up. I mean, the point that she made, when people break the law or they make a mistake on the road, as you make a mistake, I don't know, serving in a tennis match, you make a mistake. The price you pay doesn't mean death. It shouldn't be that. There must be other checks and balances on the road. So if you make a mistake in error, right, you should still survive. And the fact that so many people actually dying on our roads has got to be with some other behavioral issues beyond just making a mistake on the road. Think about all of that, right? We'll have we're going to fireside chat mode after 5 o'clock. Looking forward to 60 minutes thereabouts with my guest Sipho Sithole. But let's get the news. Here's Greg Host.
Thank you, Ashraf. Possible closure of roads for Mabuza funeral and massive bailout for the post office. Good day to you. Motorists are warned of the possible closure of some roads in Mbombela and in Mpumalanga due to activities around the funeral of former Deputy President David Mabuza. The R40 between Mbombela and Barberton and the R36 between Barberton and Bud Plus are expected to be busy this weekend. Mabuza's funeral service will be held at Hoërskool Bergvlam in Mbombela. The family will have a private burial later in the day in Barberton. Mabuza has been accorded a state funeral category 2. City of Mbombela spokesperson is Joseph Ngala.
There'll be temporary road closures between 8 o'clock in the morning to 1700 hours in the afternoon. On Saturday, we urge motorists to use alternative routes during this time to avoid congestion of traffic. There are other routes that can be used, like the Samora Machel Drive as well as Enos Mabuza Drive. The SANDF is busy doing rehearsals.
The struggling post office has received a 1.8 billion rand bailout to stabilise its operations. The Communications and Digital Technologies Minister Solly Malatsi presented his department's budget in Parliament.
The SA Connect program has been allocated 710 million to accelerate broadband expansion, particularly in schools, clinics and rural communities where access remains limited. The South African Post Office is allocated 1.8 billion to fulfill its universal services obligations and improve service delivery. This funding will help support SAPO's efforts to diversify revenue, rebuild trust and stabilize operations.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says the National Dialogue Preparatory Task Team should not be distracted from its work following the bill for the engagement processes. The team has estimated that the National Dialogue will cost the taxpayer an estimated 700 million rand. The costs of the dialogue have been met with criticism from different sectors of society. But Ramaphosa says while there has been criticism, he knows South Africans want to be heard.
We should not be surprised if there is skepticism or disinterest from some quarters of South African society about the national dialogue. We have already been confronted by the challenge of misinformation and misrepresentation, whether on what is perceived as the high cost of the national dialogue or on who is running it.
A baby boy's been rescued after he was dumped in a pit toilet in Sunambile, north of Durban. IPSS Medical Search and Rescue spokesperson Samantha Merrick.
Concerned community members had heard the baby crying and were quick to react, rescuing the baby boy. IPSS Medical Rescue paramedics have assessed the baby boy, who is in relatively good health. He has been transported to Sunambile Clinic for further care.
Astronomers believe an interstellar object discovered last week is probably the oldest comet ever seen. The BBC's Georgina Ranard has more.
Astronomers first spotted this object, named 3I Atlas, last week using the Atlas telescope in Chile. Now, a team of scientists from Oxford University say that it may be 3 billion years older than our own solar system. That would make it more than 7 billion years old. Researchers believe it originated in the Milky Way's thick disk, close to a population of ancient stars. As it approaches the sun later this year, it could leave a trail of glowing vapour and dust.
Top stories that motorists are warned of the possible closure of some roads in Mbombela and Mpumalanga due to activities around the funeral of former Deputy President David Mabuza. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Hus.
In sports this hour, momentum key as Banyana chase another victory and Leroux eyes history. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M2 eastbound has a crash near Cleveland Road exit, the N1 northbound in Pretoria queuing towards Garsfontein Road, and the N1 southbound in Fourways queuing towards Winnie Mandela Drive. In KZN, the N2 northbound has a stationary vehicle after Spaghetti Junction, and the M7 westbound queuing at Bel Air Waxley Road Junction. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound slow moving towards Bunga Avenue, the M5 southbound queuing towards the N2 highway, and Van Riebeeck Road southbound in Kells River slow moving towards Church Street. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
You are listening to SAFM Radio, this Mandela Month.
It is in your hands now.
Kathy Motlatlana on SAFM.
In light of what was said by General Mkhwanazi and the fact that Mr. Matlala's profile was now in the public space or raised because of those allegations, then it was also in his interest for him to be moved to CMAX prison.
And we were asked, why is this inmate at CMAX? The National Commission then provided a response that no, this offender had to be moved there because we confiscated a mobile phone. We never issued a statement to that effect.
And the fact that you are unable to provide an answer as to whether this happened before or after the briefing by General Mkhwanazi in and of itself will raise questions.
It's not a matter of being unable, but we are not going to come on air and then give detail in terms of security operations.
Singabako Ngumalo.
If you're ready to talk, I'm here to listen and nothing is off the agenda.
SABC News turns 75 on July the 17th, 2025.
Since the dawn of democracy, SABC News has grown into your trusted source for news and current affairs, shaping our nation and the world for the past 75 years.
From July 12th to the 17th, SAFM Current Affairs presents exclusive interviews with iconic presenters, producers, and news leaders.
We're exploring the legacy of SABC News, highlighting the voices that have defined our story.
Join SAFM for a week of compelling reports and unforgettable moments.
SABC News at 75.
Independent and impartial.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So we get into fireside chat mode. And I was telling you, I've been told, please keep an eye on the tennis as well at Wimbledon. So Alcaraz leading by 5-4 in the fourth set, but 30 down in the actual game. But that's by the way. We're into fireside chat mode. My guest today, Dr. First time I'm calling you Doctor on air, Dr. Sipho Sithole. Welcome.
I've ended.
Maybe tell us why. Why did I call you Sipho before and Doctor now? What has happened in the last few years?
Because, when I was here at SABC, 2008, that's when I enrolled for my PhD.
Okay.
And I remember when I was telling the executives that I'm doing my PhD, they thought I was kidding. And I did it in the midst of everything, and it's difficult to do a PhD part-time. So it took me 7 years. I think they were about to throw me out at Wits because I wasn't finishing.
Okay.
There was a year I did not even have a supervisor, so I didn't do anything. So, but it has always been my intention to finally have a doctorate, not an honorary.
Yeah. Wow.
Not online.
Yeah.
Real doctorate.
What do you feel about those who have honorary doctorates? I mean, anybody can accord them that, but then they call themselves doctor. On their titles, and then they get introduced as doctor. Like, I find it always a bit strange.
It's very strange. I know that Ghana they've issued a directive that people who have been granted an honorary doctorate should not be referred to as doctors in public unless they are in that institute that actually gave them the honorary doctorate. But it's even strange for me if someone is an artist and it has been honored for their creative work, that suddenly they are called Dr. So-and-so. Artistically, it just doesn't flow.
It doesn't make any sense, yeah. Okay, so doing the PhD, I mean, how has that changed things for you? Because you wanted to do it for a reason, right? So
yes.
What was the reason, and how has it changed things for you?
It's a good question, Ashraf. As you can see, I'm 63, right? But I look...
I can't see, he looks 21, yeah.
I don't look anywhere near 63. So I knew that there was going to come a time in this country when you reach retirement age, you can't be employed. And your only safe thing is the academic space. Because the academic space, as long as you are productive and you are publishing and you are producing scholarly work, you can continue until you are 80 or whatever. So,
or get into politics. Then you also don't have to retire.
Yes, then you don't have to retire.
Actually, the career only starts at
so
like 65.
That's really what prompted me to say there will come a time that would happen. And as a matter of fact, that time came in 2023 in October. You know that I don't think a lot of people knew that after my stint at University of Johannesburg as a senior research fellow, from which I published a book, I then got employed in Parliament as head of strategy for National Parliament. But then I realized that it's a 5-year contract. 2027, I'm going to be 65, and then I'll be unemployed. I said, no, I must pull off my PhD.
Had your batch now, while you can.
So I had to look at, do I stay in my job, or do I go and take the academic position that was available at that time? And what if I stayed, and then come 2027 is no longer there, and I'm out in the streets? I can only do consulting because I'm a corporate strategist as well. So I took the academic route, and I said to Olile George, it was a very difficult discussion because I'd only been there for 4 months. I said to Olile, I have to go. We call him STP, Secretary to Parliament. STP, I have to go. He said, what's happening? I said, there's an opportunity for me to go to Howard University in Washington, D.C., and if I don't take this job, it won't be there when I retire. He said, no, but you can stay, and maybe you never know. I said, this is a political hotbed. You might not even be here yourself. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but the PhD for me has actually opened my eyes in terms of the humanities, and as a social scientist, the number of questions that you ask, that elusive questions around human beings. What do you make of the world that we live in? That's what the PhD, especially in humanities and social sciences, expose you to, because you ask tough questions to find elusive answers. Yeah.
So that then took you to Washington.
Yeah.
And you spoke about Howard University. And I'm going to make the point that it may sound like Harvard, right? But it's Howard, H-O-W, because somebody may come with a business question just now. H-O-W-A-R-D, right? Howard University. So what do you do there?
So firstly, Howard University is a historical black college. It's called an HBCU. A historical black college and university. It falls under that category. And it is the leading HBCU institution in the U.S. And it's called the Mecca. Because if you've been to that university, or you're a graduate of it, which Kamala Harris was a graduate of the Mecca, it's like when Fort Hare was Fort Hare, you know.
Okay, wow.
So it has creative, it has produced leaders in the political space, in the creative space, in medicine, in law, and everything. So, but what do I do there? I joined the Department of World Languages and Cultures, and teaching Zulu language and culture. And you know me, I'm a staunch traditionalist.
Well, I see from all your Instagram pictures, I mean, come December, it's a different ball game, believe me.
Yeah, in December, I'm at home, I'm in the village. I forget about my education and whatever. So that's when I went there. And interesting enough, Howard is the only university with the largest enrollment of students who study Zulu outside of South Africa.
Because I was going to ask you, why Zulu? And I could almost say disparagingly, like, what's the interest of Zulu in the USA?
Then you must understand the politics of the United States, or of just the globalizing world around. The world is becoming one, and if countries do not invest in their citizens to acquire foreign languages, you're actually not playing in the global space. And also, remember, it also comes back from the Cold War. In the Cold War, you had people who would speak Russian in a German environment, and yet they're actually not German. They're just there to hear what's happening. And I think the U.S., from just a business point of view and politics, they invest a lot in in making sure that their citizens acquire foreign languages. I remember when I was at Lincoln University in 1989 in the US studying politics and international relations, I would hear students in my class, I'm taking Chinese, I'm taking Japanese. It never made sense to me.
Yeah.
Why are you taking that? But now it makes sense that you've got to understand the language and culture of the people that you interact with, whether they are Vietnamese or they are Zulus or South Africans, and that's what they are. And just as a matter of fact, a few weeks ago I was teaching foreign officials who are being sent throughout Southern Africa by the US.
Americans.
Yes, Americans. So I had to go and teach a class on South Africa, the Zulu nation, and all of that, because they want to know who are they dealing with. Anthropologists did this many years ago.
So it's a very important diplomatic.
It's a very
task,
important diplomatic task. Yeah,
wow.
to acquire other languages. Yeah.
Okay, and what's it been like for you there?
When people ask
Are
me,
you teaching Trump Zulu? I'm just checking.
I wish.
As he asked, he's in Washington, man.
You'll be like, you speak amazing Zulu. Where did you learn Zulu? Like
Which school did you
like
go
he
to?
asked the Liberian president. No, my answer when people ask me, how is it like? I always say, hey, I don't live there, I work there. And why do I say that? Because if I say that, if my posture towards being in the US is that I'm there to work, then it means it allows me to sift all this riffraff and what is happening that could bother me as if I was a citizen of the US. Then I have to remind myself that I'm a migrant worker, I'm just there to work.
Okay, Dr. Sipho Sithole, the migrant worker. By the way, as always, we have time, maybe a couple of calls if you're up for it, if you really know Sipho well. I mean, that'd be great, just to pick his brain or maybe give him a shout out. You can call in live, 086 000 2032, or WhatsApp us, 0614 104 107. You can also post on social media, SFM Radio, and myself, Ashraf Garda, using that hashtag, the National Pulse. Yeah. Shout outs if you're up for all of that. So let's go back, because I want to do a quick quiz from you. You somehow threw in the word SABC. You mentioned Parliament. So in one long sentence, maybe give me 5 key things that you've done in your career.
First
just like
of
a
all,
bio,
yes.
just about a quick bio. Yeah.
Came back from England with a master's from the London School of Economics. I joined what is now known as Wits School of Governance as a lecturer. I didn't stay there that much because then I was headhunted by Spencer Stewart. We joined Airports Company. This is 1994 February. Airports Company had just been established in 93 August. I was there for 4 years. By the time I left AXA, I was head of strategy. And then I joined Ericsson Telecoms, the network, not the mobile device, as HR director. And I told them that I will only do HR for 3 years because I had been in HR at AXA. And then my third year, I was then trained by Ericsson in London, in Tokyo, in San Francisco, in Sweden, to become a country manager for Ericsson. And when that time came, they actually appointed me to another company that spun out of Ericsson, which was a network company. We were building networks in Nigeria, in Cameroon, South Africa. So I was there as CEO. And then after that, this is very interesting. I then joined Jonic Entertainment.
Okay.
Yes, Jonic, the portfolio there was Sunday Times, Financial Mail, Sowetan, Exclusive Books, New Metro Cinemas, Gallo Records, the music. I was head of strategy. There, a year later, they said to me, do you want to stay in strategy or you want to move to music? Oh, by the way, in strategy, we were building cinemas in Kenya, in Ghana, in Nigeria. I said, music. That's when I went to Gallo, and my work at Gallo is known. I changed the sound at Gallo, introduced Afro Soul, signed Tandi Swamazwai, Simpiwe Dana, Squara Camp, Pro Kid. Then I left, formed my own company, Native Rhythms. That's when I signed other big acts, Sipogas and Zulu Boy. Native Rhythms did very well until Dalimpov called me one day and said,
So Dali was the one, eh? Okay.
Yeah. He said, where are you? I said, I was on the road from KZN. He said, I need to see you. He says to me, I need you. We met at 6 p.m. the very same day. I said, I need you there as head of HR. I said, I will never work for government. He said, why? I said, no, I don't want to work for SABC. So I refused that job for 11 months until Charlotte Mampane calls and says, Sipho, you don't know me. I'm about to be fired. Dali wants your CV. So I worked at. I even took the job at.
Well,
at SABC.
pause on that because that's when our paths has crossed. I mean, not that I've been here forever. I've been here and I've been out of the SABC and I've come back and full circle moment here. Myself and Sipho Sithole connecting at the SABC. This is the National Pulse.
We've upgraded. Our new GIS-linked national address database lets us connect with you better than ever before. By visualizing licensed and unlicensed households nationwide, we can ensure timely communication. Our payment reminders are a crucial tool to help you stay compliant and avoid penalties, empowering you to take proactive steps. Efficient electronic communication helps us collect fees seamlessly, bolstering the SABC's mandate in line with Section 27 of the Broadcasting Act. TV licenses, pay yours, make a difference.
The Copper Queens believe the only thing that will delight them is victory, but the Central Africans DRC plays to triumph. This is the Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024. Zambia versus Democratic Republic of the Congo on Saturday 12 July at 9 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Remind you of what needs to happen on Sunday night, in fact, because Chasing the Sun will be brought to you. It reflects the 5-part documentary about the Springboks and their rousing tales on winning the World Cup in 2019. So it starts on the 13th of July, 7:30 p.m. SABC2, and then every Sunday thereafter, right? And by the way, not just watching it on television, you can also stream it if you download the SABC Plus app. Anytime, anywhere, no subscription needed. So don't miss it. Chasing the Sun this Sunday at 7:30 p.m. on SABC2. We'll be there when history shines.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
And I believe the President has promised to be finished before 7:30 with his State of the Nation address, or addressing the nation on other issues, so that you can watch Chasing the Sun. What do you make of our country at the moment? I mean, you're there.
You want my honest opinion?
Obviously, yeah.
I think as a township child that grew up shouting all the slogans, hoping for the day that we will be liberated through a march down West Street in Durban, and we will actually get to the freedom that we have been fighting for. I have been extremely disappointed. I've been extremely disappointed. It's sometimes I wonder. I mean, I can tell you what my assessment was when I was at National Parliament as head of strategy. It's when I realized that we're in a big mess, you know. Just on that, give me 10 seconds. So my job is a head of strategy. I am looking at 3 things. How do the national parliamentarians address poverty, unemployment, and inequality? Through 3 things. Passing legislation that actually looks at that, oversight, and public consultation. And what is the performance measurements that trace that? Whether the laws that we have passed address the 3 things, and whether public participation deals with the laws that will address the 3 challenges, and whether oversight, when parliamentarians go out there to look at what government is doing, they would look at that. And I guess that's exactly what Xolile George called me for. He said, if you're going to look at the performance framework, you're going to be shocked. You couldn't trace anything that talks to the very same things. Instead, you will hear that our report will look at whether the parliamentarians have got their devices, cell phone and iPads, and whether the house
very
is fine.
Mundane,
yes. And
bureaucratic things.
He said, Sipho, you see, he calls me Jobe. That is what is the problem, and it was the problem, and that's basically the reason why we are in this mess.
And that still is the problem.
It is the problem, because I don't think that this is what keeps them awake at night. Why is there sewage spilling in Alex? Things like that. Why there is no water? It's because But anyway, by the time I left, we had created. He's a very smart guy, Colin, I can tell you. He wanted me to look at how would the 7th administration look like in terms of the strategy, and what would be the framework for managing and all of that. And by the time I left, that's one thing I promised him. I said, I'll leave you with a 1-pager.
Mm-hmm.
Then he let me go, And yeah, it's bad. It's bad. I met Dali Mpofu just coincidentally in Sentin just right now.
You didn't offer you a job again, eh?
And I said something I won't say on air. I said I wish for something. So if you think of that, just think of Ibrahim Traore.
Burkina Faso and some changes there. I wonder. Yeah. In fact, here's one. So here's a question that's so topical. Jobe, how did you resist being sucked into corrupt ANC politics?
That's a very good question. Can I tell you a joke? I was the chairperson of the ANC branch here, Ward 117. That is Parkhurst, Rosebank, and the area where the Guptas.
Okay, I live in those areas.
Yes. So I was the political head of the Guptas, including Dali. He was in my branch. I was the chair for about 9 years or something. And I always say, I don't know why the Guptas didn't like me. How come they never passed all these things that I read about in the papers, in the public space? And yet I was their chair, and I never got a board appointment. I never got all of these things that maybe people look in and see that this is one person that you won't even bring a discussion like that, It's the same as having been in the music industry. People say, "Oh, there's Payola at SABC. You have to pay the compilers money." I said, "But no one has ever. I've released big artists. No one has ever asked me for money." So I guess they look at people who are vulnerable, who are gullible, and people likes nice things. Me, I'm a simple village boy. I don't.
So how would you then describe? I mean, if you had to describe your own personality, because you said they look at people who are vulnerable. They haven't approached you. So your personality, saying in one sentence, what would you say?
Is a boy who rose from stricken poverty and was a garden boy from the age of 13 and took himself to school until matric, until. Standard 9, because my brother-in-law paid for my matric. All I ever wanted to be was to be a public servant. That's me. It's just to be a public servant, and I still think I am in the other areas that I have been. I've always been this caring person. Sometimes when I walk, I drive past and I see people, I cry. When I see abject poverty written in faces of people as I drive around, I cry. Sometimes I will stop and just give someone money. They don't even know me. I was in church now. We went with my students. They are here in the studio.
Okay.
We went to Grace Bible Church in Pimville, and there was a lady behind me. And when we were asked to greet and everyone behind us, and this woman was crying. She was just, the tears were just dropping. And I saw so much pain. Just before the church ends, I just reached into my pocket. I had some notes in my pocket. I just put it in her hand, I'm not saying that we solve problems by giving people money, but that's one thing that just came to me, that I wonder what she's going through, And these things happen to me everywhere I walk. People will just pick me up, pick on me, and ask for something, and let everyone walking past.
So we're getting on to news. So just a quick answer on this one, but it's a quick, but it's a profound one. I mean, there's no question and you speak about being the ANC, and up to now, the ANC has been the only party that's governed a full administration, and it still is the case until the next one, right? How, if there's one line that you could apportion to where we've got it wrong, what would you say? Just one line that you say, like,
I don't think they've understood who we are and what the needs of the people, of us as ordinary South Africans. I think they assume. Sometimes I say that we look at South Africa from Sentin view, because if you're sitting with a Sentin view, you're not going to see what's happening in Alex, Mlazi, Kwamashu, Msinga, where I come from, because you think that the whole country is what you see every day. But there's so much suffering.
Absolutely. In fact, I was the MC at a social justice event from Tuli Madonsela's Social Justice Foundation, and I made the point about the social justice of Alex Township is not the same as the social justice of Sandton, which is, as we know, divided by the highway. Therein lies the problem. Okay, I'll get you to pause now on reflection. Let's get to the news headlines. Here's Greg Hoos.
A quick look at the headlines of this half hour. The KZN Premier says businesses who are hiring undocumented foreign nationals are crippling the country's economy. Motorists are warned of the possible closure of some roads in Mbombela and in Mpumalanga due to activities around the funeral of the former Deputy President David Mabuza. And the Nigerian Foreign Minister says his country will not bow to pressure from the Donald Trump administration to accept Venezuelan deportees or third country prisoners from the US. A full update at 6 o'clock.
Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 northbound in Woodmead queuing towards Buccleuch interchange. The N1 southbound in Veltevreden Park has a crash before 14th Avenue, and SK Mpahleli Drive northbound in Pretoria queuing towards Mabopane Highway. In KZN, the N2 southbound has a stationary vehicle after the M41 gateway exit. The M4 northbound is slow moving through Mhlanga, and Umbilo Road southbound has ramp closure reported, so no access to the M7 East available. In Cape Town, the N2 will be closed in the central Grabo area. That's for tree felling operations on Saturday and Sunday from 7 a.m. until 2:30 p.m. on both days, and traffic will be diverted via the town centre. Strandfontein Road southbound is slow moving towards Spine Road, and Jan van Riebeeck Drive southbound in Parow slow moving towards Francie van Zyl Drive. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tumi Nkapele.
I'll tell you what, Tumi's got a banana top, but her mind is on the white of Wimbledon.
And you are smiling because Carlos Alcaraz is through to the Wimbledon final. This is after he beat Taylor Fritz 6-4, 5-7, 6-3 and 7-6. It's Carlos's third consecutive Wimbledon final, 20th consecutive win at Wimbledon, and a 24-match win streak. So it'll be interesting to see who is going to join him at that final. But in football, Banyana are back in action in the Women's Africa Cup of Nations tonight, facing Tanzania in the second group stage clash. The defending champions will look to maintain their winning momentum coming into this clash as they are fresh off a 2-0 win over Ghana. And here's Banyana coach Desiree Ellis.
We need to make sure that, again, we don't concede, because we are going to create opportunities and then take those opportunities, and we need to be a lot more in the attacking third when we are there to take the chances, because we had a couple of chances against Ghana that could have sealed the game, and then they hit the crossbar after that, so we could have been way out of distance. So we got to make sure that we do that, because yes, defenses win you matches, but goals also win you matches. So we got to make sure of that. But we do know that probably the captain Opa and Lubenga will come into the matchday squad, and they will bring a different dimension to their team. Opa's a top class striker, and we've seen what Clara can do. So we have to be aware of that as well. We are aware of everything that they have to offer, but we just have to execute our plan and make sure that our plan comes to the fore, because that is the most important thing. Yes, we analyze like they can analyze us, but we also concentrate a lot more on what we need to do to make sure that we get those things right.
Well, kickoff is at 9 p.m. Elsewhere, the FIFA Club World Cup finals take centre stage on Sunday with a blockbuster clash between Chelsea and Paris Saint-Germain. It will be the 9th meeting between the two European club giants, with Enzo Maresca's Chelsea bidding to become the first English team to win the Club World Cup twice, while PSG are aiming for a historic quadruple. Meanwhile, Crystal Palace have been demoted from the Europa League to the Conference League next season. This is announced by UEFA. Now, Nottingham Forest, who finished 7th in the Premier League last season, are expected to replace the FA Cup winners Palace in the Europa League. It's a developing story and we'll definitely keep a close eye on it. In rugby, veteran fullback Willie le Roux will earn his 100th Test cap tomorrow, becoming only the 8th player in Springbok history to reach the milestone. Manie Lebok says that it's an honour to share the moment with le Roux, describing him as a true servant of South African rugby and a leader within the squad.
No, Willie is an incredible human being. Very nice guy. Very nice guy to be around. For me, it was nothing but helping from the word go when I got into the Springbok camp from my first camp. He's always there to help. He's always there to give advice, and obviously on the field as well. And I'm just lucky. I had the chance this weekend to share the field with him in this special occasion. Because obviously, it's a huge, massive achievement to play under test for your country. So I'm looking forward to go out there this weekend with Willie and just doing my best and trying to make the occasion very special to him.
Meanwhile, Springbok woman prop Baba Lwalaja has called on rugby fans in the Eastern Cape to come and support the team at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium this weekend when they take on Canada in a second test match in as many weeks. Now, Lwalaja says that it's important for the women to receive as much support as possible ahead of the World Cup next month, whether they play at the same venue as the male counterparts or not.
I think it's fantastic to see crowds coming in. Coming to watch women's rugby. I think in South Africa, women's rugby is growing tremendously and it's picking up momentum, which is why it's so special for us when we see fans come out to watch. I think it's really important that they keep coming to watch and they keep staying tuned and following women's rugby, because we're on a fantastic journey, and where we're headed, that is to the World Cup, is even more special than playing just before the men.
Right then, Ashraf, let me wrap things up with my predictions for this weekend. I'm going to start off with today. Banyana definitely winning against Tanzania.
Definitely. Right?
Then the Club World Cup on Sunday. I'm thinking PSG is going to win that one. I'll be very surprised if Chelsea win, but anything is possible in football. The Springboks are definitely going to win against Italy. In terms of Wimbledon, it's Swiatek versus Anisimova. I think Swiatek is going to win that one. And I'm going to also look at Jannik Sinner and Djokovic. And this one is because I am on Djokovic's side. And I'm saying that he's going to the final against Carlos Alcaraz.
Okay, but who's going to win it? Because, so he goes to the final. You need to then do a second prediction as to who will win that final at Wimbledon as well.
Guys, I really want Djokovic to win. I really do. However, I see Alcaraz winning.
So your prediction is Alcaraz to win?
Yeah.
Okay, no escape.
I want Djokovic to win, though. Can it be out there? I want Djokovic to win.
Okay, got that. Well, listen, so okay, you have a great weekend. By the way, just before we wrap up, Caster Semenya, she had her own victory yesterday. She just tweeted saying, waking up this morning, only realizing what I've just done after 15 years. Sure. The feeling is like it's just the beginning of demonstrating the kind of leadership and sports governance I want to see when I take my role. There's something that's not so cryptic in that last comment that I want to see when I take my role. Got that? Yeah.
So we're waiting to see that role, but she's been saying that it's not about her anymore, but about those that are going to be coming after her. And she's really held that
But I'm saying
up.
The role is administration in sport. It's as obvious as that to me.
Course.
That's how I can see. Listen, just a quick one before we go. Yesterday I went to the media briefing for the South African Invitational paddle event, not tennis, paddle, right? And this takes place, I think, the 15th, 16th, 17th of August at the Wanderers Stadium. Okay. But here's the important point for a brand new sport in South Africa. Of the top 15 players in the world, 10 of the top 15 will be in South Africa for that event. Nice. And that's magic. And someone asked the question to say, when last have we had 10 of the top 15 tennis players in this country? And I can't give an answer. So there we are. Think about that.
Well, with that said,
30 years ago, a moment united a nation. From Ellis Park to every township and village, we stood together. One people, one dream, one victory. Now, the vibration rises again. From the heart of Mzansi to every corner of the country. The four-time world champions, the mighty Springboks, take on the Azuri in a clash where history meets destiny. This is more than a match. It's a country moment, only on SABC. Celebrate the 30th anniversary of our 1995 Rugby World Cup victory. Watch South Africa versus Italy, Saturday 12 July at 4 p.m. Live on SABC2 and streaming on SABC+. Also available on SABC radio stations at 5 p.m. Download the SABC Plus app now. Switch, stream, no subscription. SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
They both have a rich history of glory.
Frustration for the home support here.
Amakosi tackle the Porcupine Warriors.
This is as good as it gets.
This is the Toyota Cup.
The game you've been looking forward to on your football calendar.
Giants refuse to fall.
The big game.
The big game. On Saturday, 26 July at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus across the entire African continent and SABC One. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport in proud partnership with Kaizer Chiefs Football Club.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Connect to Jimmy just now, but in the meantime, let me just tell you, by the way, from on a Friday we don't have a business show. We have 6 to 7, which is often hosted by Oliver Dixon, but today being hosted by Nonkululeko Mantula, and naturally, what else can you talk about? The national dialogue. So don't miss that, right? I'll tell you what we can do is we can talk to Sipho Sithole once again as we continue chatting here with the fireside chat. So Sipho, let's get into other issues then. In fact, there's a comment that I just want to pick out here because I don't want to lose some of the comments from others. Ashraf, although it's the first time to hear your guest, referring to you, he is the best fireside, down-to-earth guest I have listened to.
Oh,
may he keep on doing the good he is doing, coming from MM. Well, there you are.
Thank you.
Okay. There we are. That's very inspiring. Well, I mean, what is your purpose when you think about it now? Like, on reflection, just you personally.
I spent my entire. I'm 63 now, giving, giving, and I was telling someone the other day that it got to a point. If I had a balance, extra money in my account, like 5,000, I felt so guilty that actually it's not mine, because ever since I came back from abroad, all I wanted to do was to pull my family out of poverty. So every time there was extra money in my account, which was not always the norm, I would call my elder sister, what's your account again? I need to give you some money, because it always felt like it wasn't mine.
Yeah.
It was only until just when I decided to go to Howard to say, I'm just going to do me now, right? And actually I want to be, and it's not a nice thing to say I want to be poor, because when I was at PRASA, my last job, I was earning 3.5 million a year, but by the 7th of the month, that money wasn't there, because I was always giving it. That's always been my purpose in life. And until I got to think that, can I just be myself now and just live from hand to mouth? If you're an academic, you live from hand to mouth. At least I can do what I like. Write about stories that I see happening every day. Be a published author. I want to be a renowned published author, and I want to keep teaching. But my purpose in life is really to see a better society, just where everyone is enjoying the life that God gave to us. Yes.
Now listen, you're on this. I mean, you're lecturing in the USA at Howard University. People have tune in late. Never tune in late, but it's you lecture on Zulu language and culture. I get that, but you annually around this time when the varsities in the summer are shut, I would think, right? You come to South Africa,
yes,
but not just to visit home. There's a specific reason, and I can see some students who are with you, and I've seen that for 2-3 years now.
Yes.
What do you do here?
So, as you know, that the US, they have a summer semester. And the summer semester helps students to catch up with other courses. Some want to graduate early. Instead of 4 years, they want to graduate in 5 years, or they just want to take extra courses that they wouldn't have taken in an ordinary semester. But with this one in particular, through the Department of Education, the US government has got something called Foreign Languages Area Studies. It's FLAS. So they fund students to take a semester of the foreign language that they take at the university, take it in the country where the language is spoken.
Okay, right.
So that they can immerse themselves into the culture of the people and now be able to relate what they learn as grammar or whatever we tell them about that language. If it's about Zulus, they now come and actually immerse and interact with that community. So we are here. It's a 6-week study which finishes tomorrow. So they've just finished all their exams now, and which means they will go back to the university with a credit.
So do they live in like Sandton, or do they go to Ulundi, or where do they go?
So it's a full on. They are extremely tired because we push them. Besides being in class, we take them into the heart of the Zulu nation, Ulundi, Makosini Valley. They eThekwini, we take them to the museums, to the other cultural sites like Ohlange High School, which is a heritage site. John Langalibaye Dube, we take them to the Thuli Museum. We take them to other museums, and then we take them to Nelson Mandela Capture Site. Then we do the battleground, the battle route, the Bambata, Blood River, Sandwana. We tell them all about that. We take them to the Valley of the Kings. We take them to the burials of the greatest kings that ever lived. We tell them this was Jama, this is Senza Ngakona, this was Dingane, all of that. And then after the 3-week period, then they also have homestay. They must stay in a village where English is not spoken. They must wake up and go fetch water, firewood, and everything. Then we bring them to Joburg for the last 3 weeks classes as well. But now we also now bring into the contemporary politics and even the history of South Africa. Take them to Freedom Park, Hector Peterson Museum, Apartheid, Constitutional.
And when they're done and they go back to the USA, what happens to them? Like,
it's first of all,
they're on a cultural pilgrimage, right?
First of all, it's sad, especially in the 5th week and the 6th week, when they realize that we are now leaving all of this behind, and you start hearing some of them saying, "I really want to come back to South Africa. I want to live in South Africa." But also, some of them pick up certain things that they think, from a humanitarian point of view, they want to do. We've been to schools. We've been to primary schools. I took them to the school I went to in Umlazi, the primary school where I started at the age of 11 when I started school. Took them to Umlazi Commercial High where I did my secondary before I went to Adams College. So they meet friends. They make friends, let me say that. They've also seen certain things that they think they can do crowdfunding to assist with some of the schools that we've been. Yeah.
You started school at 11?
Yes.
Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, I was 11 when I went to school.
So what were you doing before that? Playing marbles? What? There must be a story behind that.
I don't know, because firstly, I grew up in Umlazi. We opened Umlazi 1964. I was 2 years old. But at some point, I visited our grandmother, Msinga, and I refused to come back. So I was in Msinga in the village from I think I was 9 or 7 until 72 December. I was herding goats, stick fighting, learning to swim in the river and all of that. Then I started school when I was 11.
Oh, goodness. Listen, here's a voice note. I want to play this.
Hi, Ashraf and Bra Sipos Tole. I remember Bra Sipo, I was working at the garage next to his studio there in Pakistan. I used to see him like every day, but I never knew that he had so much in him. I just knew him like I was just a petrol attendant, but I was really interested because he was a musician. I used to listen to the guys singing at the back there, or music playing at the back, because it was just at the back of the garage. So I really do appreciate him so much. Thank you, Brasipo.
Yes, thank you. I remember.
That's a lovely call.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the studio, before we rebuilt our studio at our own house, was there by the Shell Garage at Parkhurst, just behind the Shell Garage. Yeah. So
I live very close by to those areas, and I don't see you there.
Yeah,
and
thank
here's
you.
another one. What an amazing man. Hi, Ashraf, to Mr. Sitole. I see you, I see you, I see you.
Oh, thank
Goodness,
you.
man, you're
Ngiyakubona
making
nami.
quite an impact here. You absolutely are. All right, I'll tell you what. I want to ask you just very quickly about your music, so that garage attendant will completely connect with us.
Yeah.
We'll do it right after this.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
I'm Shakira O'Malley and I'm a centre back. What I like so much about living in South Africa is the beaches. So being able to go to the beach and just relax and just let go of literally everything. I had a good laugh this morning at breakfast. I think we were all having a conversation. Everybody was interacting. If I won $1 million after a good game, I'd definitely not tell my teammates. Definitely not. I'm taking that $1 million and going home. Tune in to SABC Sport to watch Banyana compete at the AFCON and defend another title.
Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
The Morning Brief.
What's your sense? Pack of lies or prima facie case?
I can't say whether it's either or. What I can say, though, that I can't imagine that the Provincial Commissioner would take the risk that he took yesterday if he didn't have something solid to back it up. It just wouldn't make sense to me. It is literally and figuratively speaking suicidal move if you don't have evidence to back it up. And the fact that he had the amount of senior members sitting around him, task force members and NIU members, what seems to be NIU members in the background, also sends a very, very strong message. We might not all agree on the optics. That could be a debate for another day.
That's Ian Cameron, who is chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Police in Parliament.
Tulasizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief. Find the podcast at safm.co.za. X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
And there's a person by the name of Sam Kelly saying, please, can you give my number to the man speaking? I once met him in Cape Town. I need advice for my future. And his name is Sipho Sitole. So, okay, I've got his number.
Okay.
If you're up for that, you can certainly connect with him,
problems,
right?
okay.
I often talk about champions and what makes and the need to build people into champions to build a champion nation. What makes you a champion on reflection? I mean, I'm talking just you as a person.
I think it's the changes, positive changes I've made in someone else's life, right? And the life that I live, that I believe is straight, non-violent, and just making a contribution in my area of expertise, I think, and just caring for the next person. I think that's what. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I want to give you a minute to talk about music and what's it, native rhythms, right?
Native rhythms.
Just whatever you want to say about it. Go ahead.
Well, I always had when it comes to music. When I started the company, I think it started with the first production, Bambata, which was at Galo, released at Galo. I look at myself as being in the audience. What is it that if I was in the audience, I would like to see and hear on stage? And then when I couldn't see that, I started formulating sounds in my head to say, this is the kind of sound I would like to have. And it doesn't even start with native rhythms. It starts with me when I moved to Galo, after having been head of strategy at Jonic, and to say, what kind of voice do we need to hear? And I signed Thandi Somazwai, the album which I produced, Zabalas, which still remains one of the most successful albums. I signed Simpiwe Dana, and I created a new sound which was called Afro Soul. But when you work for a record label, which is not yours, you can't keep on imposing your passion and sounds and artists, because they've got a limited budget and they've got their own vision. That's when I then moved and started Native Rhythms, because now I had a free hand to do what I could do in terms of the music. And luckily EMI CCP was very interested, because I had just been very successful. Galo, the local division of Galo was a loss-making entity. But when I took over Galo at 2003, by the time I left in 2.5 years, I had turned that company around. It used to lose about 15 million rand a year, and I turned it around into a 600,000 rand profit.
Listen, we need to have an extended conversation about just that, but I'm afraid I'm not going to get to other things if I don't get to this, right?
Yeah.
Just on reflection in your life, right? I mean, we all have moments of big wins and moments of failings, but, you know, what for you is the moment that changed everything? When you look at a defining moment.
The moment that really made me very upset, actually. The one that changed everything for me was when we were really hungry at home, and we were in the township. I was in Standard 4, and we had not been eating for quite some time, and I was shouting at my mother to say, why don't you go and sell meat at Zwelethut station like all other women? And my mom said, why don't you cut me and cook me, because I can't offer you anything. Then one day she gets a job at Wentworth, which is a colored area, as a maid. And then she tells them that, hey, my son is an experienced garden boy. He's been a garden boy from the age of 11. So this one Saturday, I go with my mom. And I see my mom in the kitchen. She sees me in the yard. She's wearing the kitchen maid's uniform. I'm digging weeds there. And she cuts a slice of bread, and she serves me with tea. I eat under the tree. And I was young. It tormented me to see my mom working and serving me, and me working in the same place. And I said to myself, when I grow up, I will make sure that my mom will never go to bed hungry ever again.
And that's happened.
And that's what changed my mind, my life. Yeah.
Here's a quick voice note.
Sawubona Prof. Sifundisa isiZulu.
We are so grateful for everything that we have learned throughout our time here in South Africa, and we can't wait to take back what we have learned to the United States.
And thank you so much for choosing us to explore your culture in this amazing country. We are so grateful for everything you have done for us. Siyabonga, Prof.
He's out of words.
I don't know what to say. You guys have managed to sneak yourself into SAPC.
Listen, we are innovative, and things happen. That's beautiful, right? Listen, so give a shout out to a young South African that you'd like us to know about very, very quickly. We've got about a minute and a half.
A young South African I would like us to.
Yeah, someone that impresses you enough.
For me, it's the young boy that you had here last week, Friday.
Okay.
Yes, and I had reached out to him while I was in the US. To say,
Mr. Creel, the young
Mr. Creel, I said,
yeah.
thank you so much for being extraordinary in how you see the world and how you see yourself within the world and how you speak truth to power. And I think that was very brave.
By the way, that interview from last week, listen to it, it's a podcast. I'll maybe tweak it out again today, but go to sfm.co.za, you will find it, right? So what about a book? I mean, you've written... Give me the titles. One.
Yes, I've written Maya Maya, the history and heritage of the Maya Maya market, published in 2023. And the purpose of that book was to look at how the forgotten people where the city behaves as if they don't exist, actually do exist, and they've lived since before the Second World War when that market started.
This is that story.
First World War, when that market. That's the story about that book. It's a market in downtown Joburg of people trading in cultural goods and services.
If you had a choice to ask the president just one question,
why are you so indecisive, and why don't you care about black people?
Okay, and if you had to have a choice to tell him one thing,
resign.
You would?
Yes.
Oh my goodness! Right. What would you tell Donald Trump then?
Trump must read and know the world, because I don't think he even knows what is the world made of. You know, that's what I would say to him. Just know.
Okay.
Yeah. And
who would you like to take out to coffee?
Who would I like to take out to coffee?
Long pause. Yeah.
Yo. Yeah. Yes. I don't know.
You're in the media business, you know that. We can't continue till 6:05. Time's up. Okay, think about it. You got 30 seconds to think about it, right? Just tell me about your legacy. What would you like? How would you like to be remembered?
A traditionalist who stayed true to his roots, but was also very sophisticated and could juggle many lives and still remain rooted.
The sophisticated traditionalist, right? Did you get your coffee man, coffee woman? Did you think about that?
I would like to have coffee with Thuli Madonsela.
Thuli Madonsela. And that hasn't happened up to now.
We've had discussions, and we're going to
that's
collaborate on other
that
things.
That has to change, absolutely. Listen, your time's up today.
Thank you.
Not in the world. You have lots to do in your life and your purpose. So great to connect with you, Sipho. We need to have our own coffee.
Yes.
3 years in the making. It's still not happening. Wonderful to chat. We'll have a podcast up of this, the Fireside Chat, ASAP. I know Vusani does it very, very quickly. So thanks for listening. And we'll do it all again next week. Remember, don't forget Sunday night, a big thing happening with Ramaphosa. Right, let's get the news now at 6 o'clock.
Thank you again, Ashraf. KZN Premier slams hiring of undocumented foreign nationals and the possible closure of roads for Mabuza funeral. Good evening. The KwaZulu-Natal Premier, Tami Ntuli, says businesses who are hiring undocumented foreign nationals are crippling the country's economy. He conducted an oversight visit during a raid at 2 major factories alleged to be hiring illegal immigrants in Durban, where 9 undocumented foreign nationals were arrested.
From the whistleblower that we are working with now to locate the illegal activities taking place in the province, in particular the issue of the undocumented foreign nationals and even the issue of the illicit goods. Then we learned that here there are undocumented foreign nationals, of which we have made a call even to the business leaders in the province that they must stop hiring the undocumented foreign nationals or illegal foreign nationals because it affects the economy.